The Ridgewood Board of Education has been meeting in executive session pursuant to NJSA 10:4-12. The minutes of this meeting will be released when the need for confidentiality no longer exists. Pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act, advance notice of this evening's meeting has been given to the Ridgewood News, the Record, and the clerk of the Village of Ridgewood. In addition, notices have been posted in the office of the board secretary in all school buildings. I call this meeting once again to order. Ms. Kelly, can I have a roll call, please?
Ms. Brogan?
Here.
Mr. Donnie?
Here.
Mr. Kaufman?
Here.
Ms. Quag? Yeah, unmute yourself.
Here.
And Mr. Limbo?
Here.
Okay, great.
Can we all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands
one nation,
under God, indivisible,
with
liberty
liberty and justice for all.
Okay. So the meeting starts. I just want to say a few words while the state begins to open. We want to encourage everybody to maintain their social distancing and wear some sort of mouth covering. I know we've been getting our committees together, and tonight's the first night we have our phone line up for those that can't be online to participate. Normally, I think this meeting, everyone's been talking about the end of year performances of the students and how exciting the end of the year can be. But I gotta say, Dr. Fishbein sent a great email out, and on our board website, there's a lot of creativity and there's a lot of performances from the students. So I really think you should check that out. We've been listening to all the parents who've been helping our teachers educate our children. I think the survey, I got it today in my email, so please fill out your surveys. Everybody wants to hear from you. I think we're moving in a great direction. Our first presentation, we have the student representative report.
Yep, Zoe, you're on.
Perfect. Hi, everyone. Okay, so starting with athletics. So several of the RHS athletes have been working out to stay in shape for the time being, and baseball players have been hitting off the tee to keep their game up, and football players have continued to lift to remain strong. The RHS track team has communicated via Google Classroom to the runners, explaining the workouts and exercises each athlete should complete for the given week. Although the runners are not competing in track meets at the moment, each track event coach posts different workouts based on your event. And then the track coach also plans to hold captains practices beginning in July, but in smaller groups of runners. Next up is arts. While this year's Memorial Day Remembrance Ceremony was canceled due to COVID-19, that did not stop the RHS Wind Ensemble. So instead of performing live, they have produced a virtual performance of composer John Phillips Sousa's The Stars and Stripes Forever, which is available to view on YouTube. While on the topic of Memorial Day, a current sophomore, Matthew Rush, held signs that read, "Support our troops" throughout town to celebrate the holiday. He encouraged other RHS students to join him and take pictures because he planned on putting together a video once the day was over. The RHS bands have recently held a virtual talent show in which they raised over $1,200 to be donated to the Center for Food Action. The Center for Food Action is a nonprofit organization that provides emergency aid to New Jersey families in need. The Ridgewood Public Schools Art and Design Program have coordinated a neighborhood art walk. So although the students have not been present in school, they have not stopped creating stunning artwork, which is why they will be displaying their artwork in their windows, doors, front porches, or yards from June 1st to June 5th. So this is a great way to not only support the community's artistic achievements, but it is a great way to bring some publicity to your creations. And then Ridgewood's Art Beat, as well as the RHS Recording Studio, held an album listening party on May 29th, where they listened to the Art Beat album and held live Q&As with interviews with RHS student musicians. On to academics. The RHS RAP program, which stands for the Ridgewood Academy for Health Professions, made a virtual induction ceremony for the incoming freshmen. The video included several different RHS teachers and faculty who are involved with RAP describing what the program entails, as well as showing the new faces of the RAP class of 2023. The RHS NTHS, which stands for the National Technical Honor Society, has held an induction ceremony as well. The NTHS program serves over 100,000 members in over 4,500 schools and has a footprint in all 50 states. The program honors the achievements of leading career and technical education students, as well as providing numerous college scholarships. On to activities. The RHS TV Club has continued with its news reports, but virtually, of course. These can be viewed on the RHS TV YouTube channel. The RHS DECA chapter has been holding virtual competitions as well as virtual ceremonies for the seniors who are graduating. The RHS speech and debate team have signed off the members who are graduating, and they have held an election for new team captains. The RHS High Times, which is the school newspaper, has continued to publish the monthly issues. This monthly issues not only included numerous articles, but it also included an online art gallery that showcased many of the RHS students' artwork. And then to finish this off with miscellaneous, current juniors and members of the RAP program at RHS, Leah Horkenbach and Sonia Matthews, are working on an awesome project they call Snacks for a Cause, where they collect and donate snacks to the staff at Valley Hospital. So far, they have collected enough donations to make over 800 snacks for the brave staff working at Valley. The RHS Alumni Association has put up 436 banners to congratulate the graduating seniors, and the banners can be seen hanging around the RHS Field, George Washington Middle School, Benjamin Franklin Middle School, and even Graydon Pool. And just before I turn over the floor, I just wanted to quickly bring up one other issue that's extremely important, relevant, and timely. It's not in my student report, but I really think it's important to bring up. And, you know, right now you can't turn on the news without seeing riots, violence, burning buildings, and so much tragedy. And Ridgewood is a town that is sort of insulated from these issues. And because of that, it's easy to dismiss these issues. And I just feel that that's a lost opportunity. And this is such a teachable moment. And none of the RHS teachers that I'm aware of have even addressed or referenced these issues. And it's not like this is the first week we've been experiencing them. None of my teachers have addressed them today. And I'm just a little bit surprised by that, because this is such a pivotal time in history. And, you know, RHS has this motto, it's this tradition of excellence. And I think it's time to be excellent by discussing these issues and uniting Ridgewood as a community. You know, like I'm on social media and I see all of these other students, whether I'm friendly with them or not, and they're posting their opinions on social media. And it just shows how divided our society is right now. And, you know, you look at what happened with the Parkland shooting and how tragic that event was. And the kids involved came out of that like warriors. They demanded change. And, you know, it's the kids of this generation. My students, my peers, we're the kids of this generation that are going to need to fix our society in the future. And I brought this up just because I think by discussing these real conflicts in the classroom, whether it be virtually or physically, it will only help the students of the Ridgewood education system become better, well-rounded individuals. So yeah, so if anyone wants to add to that or comment, please feel free to do so. But if not, that concludes my student report.
Okay.
Excellent, thank you.
I know, Zoe, I know some administrators have talked about what went on, and you know, I can't tell you exactly what the planning is, but I can assure you this won't go untalked about.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
And Zoe, thank you for bringing it up. It's such an important issue, and adults are talking about it. I know I'm talking about it with my kids. And how tragic is this? And then the aftermath with the riot and peaceful protests, and then also the rioting. So thanks for this. So, and thanks, Dan, for bringing that up. Mm-hmm.
And like, I just wanted to say that, like, I fully recognize that, like, we often stay away from these issues in the classroom because it can get very political. But like, we're being taught about the civil rights movement. We're being taught about slavery being abolished. And like, although many people have their different views and their different opinions on it, I understand how this can get political, but I just don't think it has to. Like, if we just bring up the facts and have a calm, peaceful discussion about it, like I said, I just think like Ridgewood, this tradition of excellence, like it could just help us become better, well-rounded, and like unite the community. So
Thank you.
Yes.
Good job, Zoe.
I think that's
Okay.
good.
So it would be, we have no real committee reports at
Right.
this
So we
time.
do.
So
So we
it'd
go
be,
to
Public comment.
public comments.
Can I just say to the public that when you come on, to just please state your name and your address, and then you'll have 3-minute limit to speak.
Ms. Kelly, do we still have the online portion too, or just it's just
No,
the phone now?
we just went with the phone in today.
Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
Hello?
Yes.
Hi, this is Charles Riley, 448 North Maple Avenue.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, you can speak.
Okay. Again, Charles Riley, 448. Hi. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening, members of the board. I just want to congratulate Chuck.
Mr. Riley,
There's going to be a delay. Yeah.
you may have to mute the device you're using. It may be your computer that's on or your television. Could you turn that off?
I'm
or
on a
mute?
phone. How do I
You're
mute
getting an
the
echo.
phone?
Do you have
phone?
another
No.
device?
Oh, okay. I'll turn off the. Yeah, I'll mute the TV. Okay.
There you go.
Okay.
There's a delay.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to congratulate Chuck Johnson upon his retirement from the Ridgewood schools. Chuck has been an inspiration for generations of Ridgewood's children to achieve excellence. In the classroom and on the field, he's inspired Ridgewood's children to give it their all. And I want to thank him for his dedication to Ridgewood's children for these many years and for being just a great guy. And I wish him the best as he continues in his endeavors. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is that it?
Is that it? Is that all we have?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Great. Okay.
All right. Next
All right.
order.
So we had public comment. So why don't we do this? I'll do it by section. And then if there's an item someone wants to pull out, we can do that. Okay. So I present for consideration attendance at conferences.
I move attendance at conferences.
Seconded.
Who seconded that? I didn't hear that. Mr. John?
That's right.
Okay.
So that's to move attendance at conferences.
Okay. I'm going to do a roll call. Miss Brogan?
Yes.
Mr. Donnie?
Yes.
Mr. Kaufman?
Yes.
Ms. Kwok?
Yes.
And Mr. Limbo?
Yes.
Thank you.
I present for consideration B, administration.
I move administration.
I move, oh,
No, I'm going to pull a few items out of it.
as well, me too.
Ms. Hanju, you want to go first?
Okay,
So
I'm-
don't,
Hold on,
what's the
hold on.
procedure? Don't you do first, second, and then if there's items to discuss, or are you
Correct, right.
pulling?
Not discuss,
there's
we're
a-
moving, sorry.
I think there's a motion to move, but then there's a motion. I think there's amending motions, right?
That's
So,
only if there is an amendment to an agenda item. We are not amending, we're pulling them out of consent.
Right.
So then the motion has to be that we'll move administration except for, and then you would say
Right.
whatever those numbers are. And then
Right.
if you get a second, then that is the way to go.
Right.
right,
So-
yeah,
So I move to exclude from consent items and B, administration. B4, appointment of architect. B6, appointment of general board counsel. And that's it for my B items.
And I move to exclude from B consent, B administration, B3, adoption of current board policy manual, and B6, appointment of general board counsel. I'm going to recuse myself on B6.
so you're gonna recuse yourself from 6, okay.
Right, so 6 I'm going to recuse, and 3 I want to move out of consent.
We have,
Okay, so
Three.
I,
oh, sorry, do you have any you want to pull, Sheila, or,
no, I was
Okay.
just gonna move B,
okay,
with the exception of 3, 4, and 6.
I second.
If someone wants to second that,
Yeah, Chris,
yeah,
Hoffman.
Chris did,
Chris
Chris
did.
seconded.
Oh.
Yeah.
I didn't hear you, Chris, sorry.
Okay. I'm gonna do roll call. Miss Brogan,
Yeah,
Mr. Donnie,
Yes,
Mr. Kaufman,
Yes.
Miss Quag,
Yes.
and Mr. Limbo.
Yes,
okay. All right. I guess, Mike, we could do it a couple of ways, right? You could do, we could go through the agenda, doing the items that we don't want to pull out. Or
right,
you
that's
can
what,
stop here and do the items that you pulled out and then go to C. It, there's two ways you could approach it. I don't know how you
I
want to
was
do it.
gonna go through everything, but
Yeah. But
you go,
yeah, that's fine.
yeah,
let's move.
Okay.
C.
and it's the atom at the bottom, that's what I was gonna do. Because if they're lengthy, I'd rather get through the rest of them.
Okay.
So now we have.
all right,
C.
I'd like to present C, curriculum instruction for approval.
I move C.
I second.
Okay. All right. Miss Brogan,
Yes.
Mr. Donnie,
Yes,
Mr. Kaufman,
Yes.
Miss Quack,
Yes.
and Mr. Limbo.
Yes,
Okay.
Okay, I'd like to present for consideration D, human resources.
I move D.
I'll
I
second it,
Oh,
It was Mike one.
yeah,
Mike won.
the buzzer.
Got the buzzer, right?
Okay. Miss Brogan,
Well, before you do, I did want to second what Charlie Riley brought up was, to wish Chuck Johnson, well, first of all, to thank Chuck Johnson for 35 years of service and 35 years of being the football coach, which is no easy task. And to wish him and his to wish him joy in retirement, and he will be missed on the sidelines. And I suspect maybe he'll walk over and see a football game from time to time if we can have an audience next fall. So, but to really wish him luck and to thank him for all his service to the school district.
You never know, he could be coaching again.
Yeah,
We should be so lucky.
Okay. Okay, Ms. Brogan,
yes.
Mr. Donnie,
Yes.
Mr. Kaufman,
Yes.
Ms. Kwok,
Yes.
and Mr. Limbo.
Yes, and I echo Ms. Brogan as well, that 35 years is outstanding and we really do appreciate his service.
Dan, if I
Mhm.
could on this one, do you have any sense at this point when you'd be able to really give guidance on whether this will be, summer school will be in person or
No, we still
remote?
have received nothing from the state.
Oh, yeah,
Yep.
okay. Okay.
Yep.
So we'll make our best judgment closer to the time, I guess, right?
Right.
But
I mean,
all of the
at a certain point, we're gonna have to make a decision. I'll have to make a
Right.
decision and move on.
And all of the teachers that we are approving for summer school, the expectation is they will
That's the
either
plan. Yep.
do online. Okay, great. Thanks for that.
Mhm. All right, I'd like to present for consideration e-finance.
I move to exclude E10 gym 3 and E13 the WSP. I exclude them. I'd like to have discussions on that, please.
Could you repeat those?
Wait, yeah.
E-finance, item number 10, which is the gym 3, rejection of bids. And then E13, the WSP contract. I'd like to have them for discussion, please.
And I move to exclude E-Finance 6, approval, renewal of agreement with refuse and recycling.
And I have concerns about E2 and 3.
That is the superintendent's budget line items and the board secretary award. Okay.
Mhm.
I do have a question on this section E. I seem to see something that was tabled to this meeting that is not on this agenda, which was the, from this section D, from finance, the approval for the renewal of contract for facility energy management system, and then the approval for renewal of contract with Advocate Associates for monitoring services related to custodial, maintenance, grounds management, landscaping, snow plowing, and snow removal services contract. Did they just
Right.
fall off? They were supposed to be tabled to June 1st.
They were taken off. Yes.
And then what's then the update, or what does that mean they were taken off? Are they gonna reappear on June 29th?
Those are items we're considering based on the cuts we have to make.
Okay.
Okay.
So Dr. Fishman, we are considering for cuts to made, but since we requested discussion on those, I'm hoping they will not be approved under summer projects where summer
They
projects.
can't
would
be.
approved.
They can only be approved on a public agenda.
Okay. Because there is that finance, which Ms. Brogan pulled out about some of, we'll have under 40,000 can be approved by Ms. Kelly during summer months.
Those are for projects, right?
So these contracts would come back.
Contracts or quotations also.
Contract.
That is one of the contracts or quotation we pulled out, and we want to have a discussion before it's approved.
Yeah, it wasn't just contract, it was just all contracts. And the advocate is 24,288 with a 2% escalator this year, 2%. So I wanted to have that discussion. Both of these have an escalator clause in it for this year. respectively. Okay.
I just also want to say thank you. I know on the acceptance of the donations, we want to thank the Ridge Home and School Association for their donation for $4,000 to be used for the balance of the playground equipment as well on that under finance. Thank you.
So we're moving all of E except for E2,
Two.
E.
Yep.
Okay,
So 2, 3, I have 6, 10, and 13.
Yes, I think so. That's right.
Mhm.
So I move all that with that adjustment.
I second.
Okay. Okay, Ms. Brogan,
Yes,
Mr. Donnie,
Yes, and I want to give a shout out to the administration on this, one of the items on the consent agenda for renegotiating the bus contract and saving a lot of money. So thank you for that.
you're welcome. Mr. Kaufman,
Yes.
Ms. Kwok,
Yes.
and Mr. Limbo.
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
So we're going to go back in order on
Yes.
this? Okay. So I believe the first one is to adopt the current board policy manual.
Right, so I requested to pull that out, and we have a discussion item tonight for discussing 2 policies. And we are hoping there will be some minor changes to the policies. Once we make those changes, go through the process, maybe 1 or 2 meetings, whatever the current process is, and then we can readopt the current board policy manual.
So just so I could explain,
Right.
so those current bylaws are in place, okay? And the way it works with this board is that Mr. Lembo will convene the policy committee, and we will draft revisions, and then they'll go before the board and the public 3 times. All right? So, and we do this on board policy throughout the year, probably 2 to 4 times where we change policies. But in between that time, the existing policies are already in play. What we'll discuss tonight will then be brought to the policy committee, and they'll make the changes. So I guess my thought is, I know we're going to discuss that later, but approving these now doesn't change our process and what will be enforced as far as policy and bylaws are concerned.
Right, so if we do not approve it today, can we change the policy tonight?
No.
So
We could talk about it, but then it would
Right.
go before the policy committee, and they would present it to the board for change. And
Okay.
and when we do that the first time, that's the first time, and then there's 2 other times it comes to the public.
Right, I think it's 2 readings, but I can cross check, but my main
We
point
do
is-
3.
Right, so my main point is because those policies are already in place or enforced, today, we don't need to readopt policies that we don't agree with. They are already in place. It's just a customary readoption, and we can delay that readoption until we revise the policies. So my vote is that we'll vote no today. We'll work on changing for next 2 or 3 meetings, and then once we have the new policies, then we adopt the new one. Until then, the old ones are in place.
I think the question is, so if we
Yeah.
adopt these today, whether we adopt them or not, they're still in place. Am I
Yeah.
correct in that? So it doesn't, we still have to abide by them, whether we say yes or no.
Yeah.
It's
Exactly.
really an affirmation that the board has bylaws, policies, and administrative regulations, and that
Got
we
it.
will abide by them in what we do.
Right. We have that. So that's
Are
already
we-
in place.
Are you only concerned about the 2 policies so that we can move forward on all the other policies?
I don't think we
No,
can adopt partial. We have to look at those. I don't think we can adopt partial bylaws or policies. They're already in
I'm sure you
place.
could. Sure, you could make a motion to adopt all the policies except for the 2 that you have concerns about.
So then what happens? These 2 becomes nullified?
No,
No,
No, it's
Right.
they
just
just
kind of,
not our,
Yeah,
They're
so
just not a-
it's not just those 2, but there are some others that I'll bring to policy committee once the policy committee is in place. Like the simple one, for email usage, I'm going to bring it. So I'm waiting for the policy committee to be formed and then bring it to their attention.
I second Saurabh Dani's motion.
what was the motion? To,
to table the adoption of the current board policy manual. Can we have a roll call, please, Ms. Kelly?
yes.
Yes, hold on, I'm just writing it down.
Yeah.
Dan,
Yeah,
just for clarification, is this something that is required at reorganization?
it's customary.
Customary? Not, yeah.
Not required.
Mhm.
Okay, Ms. Brogan?
I would say no, that we should just pull out the ones that are of concern, but, so I say no.
Okay, Mr. Donnie?
Yes.
Mr. Kaufman?
Yes.
Ms. Quack?
Yes.
And Mr. Limbo?
Yes, so that motion is to table these until we
Correct.
discuss.
Right.
Okay,
Mm-hmm,
yes.
okay.
The next item is the appointment of the architect. The architect works on a as-need basis. And the district has worked with this architectural firm for a long time, many years. And I presented to you for approval because I think they do a very good job.
I think
When
that-
was the, I'm sorry, when was the last, I think we were discussing, we were concerned when the last time this went out for an RFP on the architect?
It was probably during my tenure. I don't remember exactly when it was.
Dan, would have been 2015 EI
Yeah, probably, yes.
or 24 or 2014?
Around that time frame.
But weren't Land the architect for 2008 referendum also for high school HVAC?
Yep. So we went out for RFP afterwards and worked with another firm for just a year or two.
And then when we switched back to Land, did we RFP again or we just switched to them?
No, we just switched because they're a professional contract and you can do that.
And we were not as satisfied with the services of the other architectural firms.
Yep.
I think this is an opportunity for us to perhaps get some new service providers to the table. I move that we open this service contract and put it out for RFQ process.
What happens to the summer projects?
I'm sorry?
They're contracted for the projects. So
I don't think we have any summer projects contracted or approved by the board yet. The previous board approved some summer projects as part of the budget, and it was in the same resolution. That budget was defeated. We don't have any open summer projects at this time. And I honestly personally don't think we should be looking at summer projects until we know we have enough money, we have the budget. At the last meeting, Ms. Brogan, you pointed out there is a huge uncertainty of the state aid.
There is.
It is pushed to October. So we are not going to get our July payment until October. Dr. Fishbein pointed out that we have a lot of uncertainty with COVID-19. So while we have all those uncertainties, we don't even know the budget numbers. The village and the budget committee is still working on the budget. And first, we want to make sure 100% that as a board, we should make sure that there's no cut to any programming before we try any new summer projects. So right now, there's no summer project that is approved.
So
Right, you
projects already
realize that
just so we're
the-
clear, you
Yeah.
can't use capital reserve money into the operating budget.
I understand, but
Not
I
permitted.
understand that, but we will have that, we can defer that capital money and not use it until we are sure that we don't need that reserve. If there's an emergency, we can always go to the county superintendent, or we can get approvals, or we not put new money into capital. But if we have some reserve, let's keep that reserve by our side until we know that we are out of this problem.
Okay, but some of that reserve is for the Orchard Field.
Yes, that is already going on. That is already approved. The bid is already approved.
Well, no, you just said it wasn't approved, so I'm
No,
just,
the orchard is approved. The orchard was approved. The previous board approved the bid for orchard, 583 or something. The
540,
bid was already approved.
Tricon.
I think moving forward, I think the question was, what if there's projects like Orchard that is being approved for the summer, that would still be attached to the current architect, but any new projects that aren't approved would be up for RFP, I think, RFQ. I think that was the question, right?
Correct. I think this is an opportunity to get the best in class. It does not preclude land from submitting their bid, putting their best foot forward. I see no reason that we don't invite them back to the table, but we should also open the field for other architects to present their proposal.
I agree, and Jim Morgan and
I-
I felt that way when we discussed this previously, and so I look forward to the opportunity of sending this out and getting some new blood in here.
And I would even encourage the administration, when you're looking for new bids, to look for different providers for the design firm versus the firm that does the bidding and the firm that does the construction management.
Yeah, so the design firm would do the development of the bid documents because they're architectural bid documents.
Correct.
But in big referendums, we do have a outside construction management firm.
Right, but what I'm encouraging today is that even for smaller projects that we consider small, like the Orchard Field, which is $600,000 project, we are land and WSP doing everything, including bidding, or $500,000 bathroom projects. In my definition, that's not a small project. So $500,000 bathroom project, one firm doing bid spec, submitting those bids to state bid management. They issue the bids, they receive the bids. Contractors have to call their offices for bid management, and then walk through, then construction management and closure, all of that being done by one firm. I think we should look at separating the firms where there's no conflict of the design firm and the firm that is doing the project. We need some oversight also, separation of the firms and oversight. So I don't know, when I talked the last time, when the change order was issued by land or the contractor, there was a change order for, they removed tiles, floor tiles, and they found subfloor was not stable for an 80 to 100-year-old building. That to me is a change order that could have been avoided. And when I asked at a public meeting that how was that change order approved, I think that was approved by business administrator. So there was no, from our side, there's no facilities manager who actually looked at it. So it was all created by the architect. Change order was approved by the architect that yes, that work is needed. And then we approved it financially, but from our perspective, there's no expertise there.
Well, we did have our facility manager look at it, and there is expertise in the architectural firms to make that determination and let us know that, you know, this is a problem, an unforeseen problem. Because while there was a problem in one bathroom, there wasn't a problem in the other bathroom.
Right. All I'm saying, Dr. Fishman, is we need some separation when you do. Ms. Clark is saying that we should go out for bid, and I'm suggesting or I'm recommending that when we go out for bid, we should also try to look at separation of the duties instead of putting everything on one firm.
Just speaking.
Does that mean for each project you would want the architect and then you'd want a construction manager, which
And,
No,
and
on some
someone
of
to
these
do the bid
projects,
document.
you probably don't even need an architect, and maybe except for submitting something to state. If somebody is replacing a rooftop air conditioner, a general contractor can do that. Or if a gym floor is being replaced, maybe the GC has an architect. Why do we need an architect and a GC? And if we need, we can discuss that further. And I would like to learn why do we need to give everything to one firm where there are big dollar amounts? For me, $500,000 is a big dollar amount.
So for this item, B administration 4, I move that we vote on it can we vote to disprove it, to vote it down, or vote to approve it?
Well, I think we would vote to not accept it, and
Yes,
then
not
we would have to
accept it.
go out to RFQ. Is that
Correct.
correct?
Yes, I second that. You put that motion, Mike, I second it.
RFQ?
RFP.
RFP, I'm sorry. Yeah, P.
Oh, okay.
P.
Was, you know, we, actually, it's sort of interesting. Maybe you'll see the architectural firms that came to the floor when we did this in 2015 were, you'll learn that they really weren't as impressive as Land. Land has done really good work in our district. And so I understand bringing in new blood, but sometimes when you bring in new blood, you lose history and experience and knowledge of our buildings. So know that with new architectural firms, we may have some delays.
That's fine.
And I know you're talking about the summer projects, but if we don't move ahead with some of our summer projects, we will not be ready for our students in September. So if you're not going to do the bathrooms, I would encourage you to look at least at GW's bathrooms, which are in terrible shape. They are in need of renovation, serious need. We did 2 of them last year, and the difference is significant. So that would be unfortunate when we have that money in capital to do that. So,
And I totally
part of the
understand
discussion.
that. I totally understand that they are in bad shape, but right now there are a lot of residents in Ridgewood who are putting off their own home renovation projects, and we should be responsible and we should put them off until we know that we have the money and we won't be affecting any programming.
I look forward to hearing Land's proposal if they come out, and I look forward to seeing all the new firms and all the new ideas that could come out of this process. I think it's an improvement from just continuing on the same architectural firm. So can we get a roll call?
Mhm. Do we have any more
See,
discussion?
Chris is missing right now.
Oh,
Yeah, I think Chris just got knocked off.
Okay.
okay.
But and actually, though, I do say though, I do hope Land comes with a proposal. I do.
Yes, and also
I'd like to see what else is there.
on the
Exactly.
proposal, when the proposal matrix is created, Ms. Kelly, can you share that matrix with us before?
Sorry, go ahead, say that again.
The proposal matrix, the RFQ or
process?
RFP matrix.
The
There's a
process?
like not the process. There's a matrix that you create. I've seen that those matrix in the past for example, for alphabets, you had a matrix.
Oh, you mean the criteria?
The criteria.
Oh, yeah, yes. So we'll set a criteria for that. To be honest with you, I'll work with the attorney and my colleagues we probably have an RFP that we've done before, and I'll review it and I'll put the criteria together. And
Yeah, I
then
just want to make sure that it doesn't give any preference to legacy providers.
it shouldn't. It shouldn't. It shouldn't.
In the last time we did an RFP for the architect is we got the responses back, but the full board did interview all of the architectural
Mhm.
firms that came in, and then scored and gave the information to, well, it wasn't Antoinette at the time, the business administrator.
Okay.
That was done in executive session, as I recall, because it's a contract.
Mhm.
There was a power surge. He's coming back. There he is.
Hi, Chris. We didn't
Sorry.
move anything.
Yep. So moved. No.
So what
Yeah.
are we moving?
Perfect.
What is the motion?
The motion,
Go ahead, Mike.
sorry.
It was
I
your
believe
motion.
I believe the motion is to put out, that's 4 for the architect for an RFP.
I second.
All right, so I'll do a roll.
I have a procedural question. So the agenda item is approval, appointment of architect. But if you're moving a different motion, do we first need to table it? Do we first need to defeat it, or?
We need to defeat it. I think.
Well,
Yeah.
I think Mike said not to accept the approval and to go out to RFP. I think that was what he said, correct?
Right. Yeah. So it'd be defeat it and put a new one in, to put a new one in.
Or are we amending this motion?
Yes. Yes, I second.
Okay.
Ms. Kelly, can you read the motion that we are going to be voting on?
So it's Mr. Limbo's motion was not to accept the appointment of the current architect and to go out to RFP for the architectural services.
Okay,
That's the motion. And Ms. Kwok seconded. Okay.
thank you.
Thank you. So I'm going to do a roll call. Ms. Brogan,
Yes,
Mr. Donnie,
Yes,
Mr. Kaufman,
Yes.
Ms. Kwok,
Yes.
and Mr. Limbo.
Yes.
Okay.
So the next item is, I believe it's 6. It's approval of the general board counsel. Jeff Merlino and his firm have been here prior to my arrival 12
okay,
years ago.
Brian, I'm
Yep.
going to recuse myself, so I'll just turn off the camera and I'll come back in a few minutes.
No, you're in public. You can recuse yourself and stay on.
Okay,
Yep, you
Yeah,
just won't.
just don't
You
vote.
just won't vote.
okay,
So as I was saying, that this firm has represented the Board of Education very well over the time that they do the general board counsel work. They've worked on litigation. They've worked on contracts, as Antoinette has said. They work with us on negotiations that will be coming up next year. They know the districts, they know the issues that we're dealing with, and they know our contracts and have represented us well during negotiations. And as you saw in your background material, the board attorney's fees are generally between here and the 170 he has and 185. And they're, because they do public work, they generally are about half the cost as a regular attorney.
I'd also like to chime in real quick that while not being on the board as long as Sheila, in my short time on the board, I extremely reliable and somebody that I think we should absolutely continue his services.
I think at this point.
during my time on the board, we've had, we've worked with a number of,
Has been there prior to Dr. Fishbein's.
Wait, hold on. I got 2 people are talking. Sorry. I think actually, Hungju, you were first, and then we'll get Sheila. You just got cut off.
I wanted to add that while I respect Mr. Merlino's legacy and long relationship with the board, prior to Dr. Fishbein's arrival, this is an opportunity for us to get the best in class. Again, just like with the architectural firm, the law firm is not precluded from putting their case as why they should continue with Ridgewood. So I am advocating that we should go up for RFP process, and Mr. Merlino's firm may very well be back at the table, but this is an opportunity for us to go pursue the best in class.
I need to add in that if that's the direction the board goes, we need to have an attorney in between now and when we do this RFP process. Okay, so you need to balance that, because there's no way that we could operate without having a board attorney.
Well, Ridgewood is it's a prime district. I imagine that there are a lot of councils out there that would be thrilled to represent us, or I hope.
No, the RFP process takes time. Okay, so right now we're going out for architect, and I don't know what's going to happen here. Yes. But if we go out for attorney and there's other professional services that you have pulled out, all I'm saying is we need to have a board attorney to work with daily between now and if we successfully appoint a new board attorney.
I believe this.
And they have been excellent attorneys. Excellent.
Okay, wait, Ms. Kwok, Ms. Kwok, hold on, Ms. Brogan was cut off before.
Yeah, we've had opportunities through my time on the board to work with other attorneys, and I would say that Jeff has really stepped up to the plate. His advice for the district has been good. He's been an excellent participant and for our negotiations. He knows the district. He knows, he really knows well to work with our staff also. And he has, really been there whenever there's been a call. He has often worked with the board president when issues have come up with contracts that the superintendent contract. So I think that he deserves our support for another year.
I would like to add that this contract, if we do for these approvals, if the motion does pass to not accept the appointment of the current general board counsel, it doesn't mean we are without counsel, because the current agreement runs till June 30th. So this is more about going forward for the next school year. Who do we want to represent the board and the board's best interest? And I'm saying perhaps there could be another firm. We don't know, because we've been with this firm for, sounds like decades.
But there's no way we could do it from June 1st and have a board attorney in place through the RFP process that quickly.
No, Mr. Merlino's firm is currently with the board now, and they would be with the board even if this contract gets voted down for approval. This is a continuation. So their contract doesn't get voided immediately upon whatever vote outcome is. Their
June 30th.
June 30th it would end.
Correct. So we're talking about for the next school year, and I'm saying we have.
Yeah, I'm saying between now and June 30th.
Correct.
Okay, we could not go through the RFP process and get a board attorney in place for July 1.
Well, I think we could then do month by month. I don't think that we should be beholden to an annual contract when all of these professional services are more than happy to continue a relationship with us. If Mr. Merlino's firm refuses to continue a daily rate or a monthly rate or an as needed, actually they're not on retainer. I think we pay per time, correct?
Yes, hourly,
So
as required by code.
Per time. So the notion that if we don't renew it for the upcoming year, we are suddenly without any legal support, I don't think that's valid. And I would sincerely hope that Mr. Molino's firm comes back, they represent us while we go through this process. I think it would be in their best interest to represent us while we look for other firms, perhaps. But
I'm just saying, we do a yearly contract with our professionals.
correct.
Right? And that's what the yearly contract is for.
Correct, but it's certainly nothing precludes us from doing a daily rate. They are not on retainer. They are on an hourly rate as needed. So that will still be honored. I don't think that Mr. Molino's firm, if they're really serious about sustaining a relationship with the Ridgewood School District, would drop us on July 1.
I'm not saying that either. I'm just saying
Okay.
what this agenda item is.
Correct. So
Right.
that's what I'm saying.
And I believe Mr. Kaufman had some comments.
Yes.
You were next.
I actually, I mean, I'm
Sorry.
I was just curious if there was something that instigated the desire to change attorneys, because I just don't get this. I understand the architect, I understand land, but Mr. Molino has been fantastic, and I don't understand what would be the benefit of going out to another attorney at this point.
Because
If you're saying best in class, he seems to do the job pretty
that's
well.
what I'm saying. I'm saying this is a legacy. This is a contract that has been in place for decades. This, we may be able to get somebody else, I don't know, but the idea that we should just keep on rolling these contracts in perpetuity, I think this does Ridgewood School District a disservice. I think that
Here, my thing is with land, personally, and again, I'm not in agreement with Sheila or Dan as far as land, but with Jim Morgan, I felt that land had made mistakes in the past, and this is why I feel like we should go out and get a new architect and a new service. But with Mr. Molino, there's no history of non-performance. So I just don't get why we would do this now with, within a month of his contract about to be expire, with him never having a bad performance. Why would we do this now?
because this is when the contract is up. When do we do it? Do we continue it next year? Why not do it now?
Well, is the question performance or is it price? I mean, I think that's also a question too.
I'm saying
Is
right
it, are we
now,
trying?
I don't know. So that's what the
Okay.
whole RFQ process would serve to provide. It would validate Mr. Merlino if that's what comes out to be, or it could be that we have somebody else. I'm saying that this school district deserves to maybe hear from other lawyers. It's been decades, and there may,
Sorry.
So I'm not sure.
Well, I was going to say, I disagree. I think based on his experience with our district and based upon the challenges we're about to face in the future, why would we take a chance with going with a new firm that doesn't know our district and may not know the hurdles that we have? Like, I think it's just the opposite. I think based on his history, based on his experience, this is the perfect time to stick with somebody who's done a great job and is going to be prepared for the challenges ahead.
But what kind of legal challenges? If you're a lawyer who represents a school,
I don't know. We don't know what the challenge is.
We have
I'd also.
we're in
oh, excuse me.
litigation in other areas that would take an attorney extra time and resources and district funding to bring that person up to speed.
I don't agree with that. I think if my firm is working with lawyers, the good ones it's a legal, that's why you have a bar association. You are able to perform and provide legal expertise if you are qualified, and that's what we're looking for. We're looking for qualified lawyers.
Can I just make a suggestion? Go ahead. No, you go first.
I just want to look at the workload, because we have a ton of stuff on our plate.
Right.
And just getting through the end of the school year. And then we really don't know what July and decisions Dan and staff will bring to us, or recommendations on changes to our budget. RFPs take time. I'm just, the workload, I don't know whether we'll do capital projects or not. What oversight and time we'll have to put into making sure that summer school runs well, and Orchard Field gets done, and whether we do other projects. So I'm just also am cognizant of our staff and the workload. So
with the
I've-
RFP process, it
I've-
would be done right away. I mean, they could be, like I said, they could be, I just don't want to commit the board to continuation when there's no necessity, because they can easily have us, it's actually on an as needed basis anyway, the legal contract. So they would be just paid as needed until they go through the RFQ process. And it could very well be that we select a new lawyer in August. We will still have legal advice until then. If they choose not to, then it speaks to how they perceive the board and the relationship with the board.
So can I just make a suggestion?
Yeah, go ahead.
So since there's going to be a process, I mean, you could appoint them now, because this is what I've typically done. I've appointed an attorney, and usually we do the RFP process during the year, and then we switch at that point when we decide. So if you appoint Mr. Greener's firm at this point to continue, it doesn't mean that they have to continue for the entire 2020-2021 school year, because we can go out for RFP whenever we want to. So if we do that now, and like you said, if we hire them in August, then that's when the change would happen. So
no, the actual contract, the approval is for them being appointed counsel for the whole period.
I understand that, but you can still, trust me, I've done it.
Then maybe we should amend it if the consideration is that it may be overwhelming for the staff to go through all these RFQs, then perhaps we would approve this this contract from July 1 to maybe December 31st. I don't know. That should give ample.
We could do that.
That should give ample time for different law firms to respond, for us to, that's that. What do you think?
I have two questions. Just how long does the RFP take? And then this.
So
roughly.
I'd have to put one together. I'd have any time to do that. Then you have to give at least 20 days from when you advertise, from when you open.
Okay.
And depending on how we want to do it, you can do it as a committee of the whole, like Sheila said they did with the architects. You could do that with the attorneys, or you could do a smaller committee to review them and to score them. And then that committee would then present their recommendation to the board. So, and you can interview them too at that, after you score, you can interview as well.
Okay.
So
and I just have a quick question on the attorney. I see that his rate hasn't changed since last year. Do you know when the last time his rate increased? Like, is this like a constant thing, or is it?
He's been, I can't speak for, because I've only been here a couple of years, but maybe I don't think it's increased over in a long time. I think it's
I think he's been pretty
he's been pretty
stable.
steady.
Yeah. And just so you know, our legal not only works with Dan, but Antoinette, and also with Ojeda when there are contracts or human resource issues or tenure issues. Yeah. And the board president. So it's
any lawyer should be equipped to do that. So maybe, can I just say that's not really true? Like, that's not true. Not any lawyer. These lawyers that not just Mr. Molina, but other lawyers are specific to school law. And those are the people that you're going to want to interview.
Exactly. And that's what I'm hoping RFP process will unveil.
Yeah, well, that's who will apply, but not just any attorney.
Correct. And that's what the RFP process should unveil, as I mentioned. So perhaps instead of just automatically renewal for the full year, then perhaps it's from July 1 to December 31st. And that'll give the board plenty of time to go through the process. And good news for you, Ms. Kelly, I believe that you'll be getting an assistant. So we should be okay, right? So that's my motion. Hopefully there's a second.
Well, the assistant, no, we.
Yeah.
No,
Mrs. Kelly's not getting it.
No. Yeah, hold on, we're getting off track here.
Exactly. But my motion is to
Hold on.
approve the appointment of general board counsel from July 1st, 2020 to December 30th, 2020 at the rate as quoted. And in the meantime, we will be going through an RFP process.
Should we make it all one or should we make it at two?
Yeah, I'm wondering, because I
Right,
want to
like
appoint Jeff, but I'm
Right.
not in favor of doing the RFP. So I think we have to
So
break it
I
into
think
two.
the process should be this, if this fails, then someone could bring something else.
Okay.
That should be the process.
Okay,
What
so
is
the motion should be on the floor is the appointment of general board counsel
For which
I
period?
second.
Full period or for the period
for
that
the
I have
year,
to carve out?
for the year, as
For-
written on the
for renewal
agenda.
of The year.
Okay, so we're gonna do the one as written first.
Yeah,
We'll do a roll call on that. And then we'll look at Ms. Kwok's motion after. So we're gonna do as written. Does everyone
Okay.
understand that?
yep.
Okay.
Okay, you ready?
Yes.
Ms. Brogan.
Well, did somebody second that?
Oh, sorry. I need a second.
I made a motion.
I think
Did
Chris
somebody
did.
second
Chris-
it to?
I seconded it.
Yeah, Chris, yeah.
Hold on. Okay. Okay, Ms. Brogan,
Yes,
Mr. Donnie is going to recuse himself, correct? And Mr. Kaufman,
Yes.
Ms. Kwok,
No,
and Mr. Limbo.
No.
so since this tied, do I get to put my motion on the table?
It did not pass.
It
Okay,
did
so
not pass. Great. So my motion is to retain the services of the general board counsel, Jeffrey R. Merlino Esquire, for the period of July 1, 2020 through December 30th, 2021 at the rate of $170 per hour. There is no increase in the hourly rate from 2019 to 2020 school year. In the meantime, the Ridgewood School Board will be initiating an RFP process.
okay, I need to split that in two.
Yeah, I
We
think that
need-
should be,
Okay.
it should be two, let's make that two motions, or
I'll make
should we vote on that motion and then make it?
Got it. Okay, so that's my first motion.
Well, I mean, Ms. Kwok, would you be open to splitting that, or do you want to keep it as one?
I think it needs to be together. The whole point of having the
Okay, we can-
duration from the first half of the year is to give the board an opportunity to interview and get the proper legal counsel. So to do the first and then not do the second defeats the whole purpose. So I would like to combine the two.
That's fine. It's your motion. That's fine.
Any second? I need a second though.
I'll second it.
Okay.
Okay, Ms. Brogan,
No,
Mr. Kaufman,
No.
Ms. Kwok,
Yes.
and then Mr. Limbo.
I'm gonna vote no.
Okay,
I'm gonna vote, no, I'm gonna make a motion, make that same motion, two motions. One
Okay.
motion that we have retained Merlino's offices for the period as written, but June 30th, July 1st, 2020 through December 31st, 2020. And then the second motion to do an RFP motion process to look for lawyers for general counsel.
hold on.
So you're splitting it.
Can I make two motions at the same time, or? I'm making the same motion, just two of them, splitting them.
Okay, let's do the first one. So let's do
Okay.
the time frame first.
but if you vote yes on this, then we only have a lawyer for 6 months.
In time to do the RFP.
RFP,
Right.
right. But if we don't do the RFP, then we only have a lawyer for 6 months.
Well, we can bring this up. Can we bring it up again in 3 months? I'm thinking that this RFP will probably take 3 months or so. If we can always bring this up to extend this contract. Could we not, or can we not?
Yep.
You could. You could. You could. All right.
So if 6 months is the best we can do, in my opinion, that should be done at this point. I would prefer the whole year, but if 6 months, and we'll do the RFP.
So Dr. Fishman, you're recommending we'll do the 6 months and do the RFP at the same time.
I actually recommended Merlino for the year.
Yeah,
Year.
it's good to eat it. Yes.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I think the reason why I'm trying to split it is because I think I agree with Dr. Fishbein that, we do need the attorney. But I also think that we should look at elsewhere as well. And I think we should let our attorney know that we do value him and we want to keep him, but we should be looking to get the best rates for our residents.
Okay, so was there a second for that?
So this is a price thing and not a quality thing.
It's both. We won't know until we have an RFP. Right now, relationship has been going on for decades. So it's always good to Dr. Fishman has been here for.
But we shared the rates.
Dr. Fishbein's been here 11 years. So
Yeah,
not
12.
decades.
Yeah,
12 years.
we shared the rates with other districts, and Jeff's was on the low side. I believe it went from 170s to 185.
Like I said, it's not just about the rates, but the opportunity to, like I said, open up to different board counsel and see who comes up. So is the motion on the floor right now for 6 months doing the RFP as Dr. Fishbein recommended?
I didn't recommend.
Right.
No.
Right. You're right. As Dr. Fishbein mentioned as an option, are we just going to right now vote on the appointment of the counsel for 6 months?
Yeah,
That
we're
is
just
the
going to do
motion on the floor.
Yes, the motion is just the council approving for the 6 months.
Okay.
Do we have a second? Okay, well, if we don't have a second, then this doesn't, then this.
So then this doesn't pass at all. This
No.
appointment of general board counsel doesn't pass at all, not for 6 months, not for a year. So then I move to go through an RFP process.
Okay, this.
All right, folks. Wait, we
Yeah,
need
we have to come
a
back here.
board counsel. All
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
That's why I said I did recommend. For 12 months. If we can't have 12 months while we go through the RFP process, 6 months we'll have to do.
yeah, I would like to, I think the reason why I'm putting the motion, at least for some months, is I think maybe we should look at the thing, maybe even look at his contract a little deeper. So we already shot down the year. Let's at least get 6 months so we can talk about this.
And the only way this moves forward is if someone seconds it. I can't.
I'm going to reluctantly second it because I have no choice. I think we're making a mistake. I think Jeff has done a phenomenal job. I think we have enough changes you guys are putting forth ahead of us that this is a mistake, but I will second Jeff and 6 months.
It's not you guys, Mr. Kaufman, we're the board.
No, I understand, but
I don't agree with that. So please, we're working together. We're trying to do the best for the district. And I am saying that we should really have a hard look at our professional services. This is our opportunity instead of keep on rolling it year after year. So that's,
I'm also a big fan of it's not broken. You don't have to fix it. I don't approve land. I've always had my same feelings about land, and I've had my feelings about other things. I think Jeff does a phenomenal job. I think he knows our district. I think it's important that we have somebody that is familiar with the system. I think his rates are phenomenal. And I just disagree, but if it means 6 months or nothing, then I'll go with 6 months and I'll second the 6 months.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna take a roll call. Ms. Brogan,
Yeah,
Mr. Kaufman,
Yes.
Ms. Kwok,
No.
and Mr. Limbo.
Yes.
Okay, so that motion passes.
So then can I introduce the motion to do the RFP or did we already go through that?
Mike made it.
Fine.
Mike, that was your second motion, was it, Mike? Not? your-
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. That was your second motion, Mike?
Yes,
Yeah.
it was.
I second the motion to go through an RFP process.
Well, let me just write this down. Okay, Ms. Brogan,
no,
Mr. Kaufman,
No.
Ms. Kwok,
Yes.
and Mr. Limbo.
Yes.
Okay, so that,
I agree that we do need a counsel. And I think that, I don't think it hurts by looking, but what Ms. Kelly said before was we should keep our counsel while we're looking. I don't think we should just get rid of them. I
Yep.
don't think that's a smart thing. I have no reason not to trust. I think Ms. Molina does a great job, but I don't think it's a problem looking.
Yep.
well, right now you have a tie. There's no
Right.
RFP. So at this point,
it
you're gonna
doesn't pass, right?
no, you have to revisit it again.
Yeah. So we'll, I'll,
Have to revisit it. At this point, we can't move forward with it.
So right now we have
6
Judge
months. for
Merlino's firm for 6 months.
Correct.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
But no RFP. So
No,
is
but
that, okay.
you're split
I'm just
right
making
now.
sure.
We have to revisit that.
yes,
Okay.
I move that we table the RFP process for the appointment of bond counsel from January 1, 2021 through June 30th, 2021.
Wait, which one? Bond counsel?
No,
That,
not bond, sorry, board.
General. Yeah.
I move that we table the RFP process and
okay.
board counsel from.
Well, it's not on the agenda to table, so
Oh,
it just needs to come up under discussion
You don't
in
have
just
another
have to-
meeting.
Yeah,
correct.
Yeah.
exactly. Okay.
All right.
All right.
So that's it for administration, I believe,
Okay.
correct? The next item is authorization for the superintendent of schools to make budgetary transfers. By code, all right, we're not allowed to have budgetary lines in deficit. So budgetary transfers occur throughout the school year. And we have board policy on this. So this is one of those areas that is highly regulated. Board policy and regulation 6422. It's a mandatory policy, and it details what I'm allowed to do by code, and our policy is in sync with the code. No transfers take place without being board approved. Okay, so we're making transfers and then we're bringing it to the board for explanation. Okay, and the board process that we have now is that the board receives background information on all transfers that occur. All right. This $40,000 limitation could impact the district, meaning that we need a teacher in one area where they're budgeted versus another area. That transfer is in excess of $40,000. We may have a facility emergency where we would need to transfer money in excess of $40,000. These things don't happen all the time, but the reason why the policy in the code is set up is to account for those possible eventualities, but also know that it is done and approved in public. All right. Every transfer is approved in public. All right. There's regulations in there about increasing a line of over 10%, right? Antoinette?
So
That not
yes.
only does it need board approval, it needs county superintendent approval. All right. There's so many regulations on the financial side that the limitations put forth in this agenda item could impact the operation of the district.
So Dr. Fishbein, what is the difference? What are we asking as part of this agenda item if there's no 40,000 limitation and there's no limitation on transferring to restricted accounts? Then
Yeah,
what?
There is a restriction.
I can't
capital,
move.
let's say capital. So what I'm asking is, what can you not do today that this resolution will allow you to do? If
Some of those things I just mentioned.
I would like a clarification on that. That if it can be done today, if it can be done by policy, if you already have a policy, if you already have regulations, and if you are already doing that, then what is new thing that will happen with this? Because we have a board meeting.
The $40,000 limitation is not in board policy.
Right, but but that resolution is also not in board policy. We don't need a resolution. What I'm asking is if that resolution is completely out, if you don't have finance to that whole resolution on table, then what can you not do today that you're asking the board to?
Oh, if you want to withdraw it, that would be fine. Yep.
So that resolution does not give you any extra authority during summer months that you already not have?
No,
this is transfers.
So Mr.
Yeah, there's two.
Can I just say the authorization so basically the authorization is to allow us to do budget transfers during the month and then bring them to you for final approval. That's
right, but we have a meeting on June 29th. That is before the year closes.
Yeah.
So we can do those on June 29th.
Transfers happen all through the year.
Right.
Yes.
So you put this budget
I think
together.
you're mistaken. This resolution is not for the summer, Mr. Don.
Yes, we're talking right now about line 2, which is the superintendent line items.
Yeah, this has nothing to do with the summer. This has to do with annual budget transfers. So this would be a monthly thing. So each month you would get a transfer report to approve.
Dr. Fishbein, can I ask you a question? So the way it's now written, you could do the transfers, but you're restricted at a $40,000 mark. Would that be enough? Like, would that hinder you, or is it basically either that's kind of a moot number? So you could either make the changes, or would $40,000 help, or is it just that's not really a good number?
No, it doesn't help.
Okay.
Right now, there is no dollar amount in the policy. There is no dollar amount. So that per line item, there may be times, as I gave examples of, where transfers would need to be in excess of $40,000. Currently, I have that authority to do, not only by board policy, but by state statute and code.
If
so then we don't need this resolution. Then we don't need this resolution, right? If you already have that authority, then we can just completely drop it.
Mm-hmm.
As I said when you said that the first time.
Right.
Fine.
I'm fine with dropping it completely.
Yeah, I don't know why it was introduced then. You know, my question is, we meet twice.
Why was it introduced? Where did it come from?
It came from Dr. Fishbein.
No, because
Dr. Fishbein, it was in the last meeting. It was in the last meeting from Dr. Fishbein because there was no board precedent at that time. So that agenda was created by the cabinet. And
it was not with these qualifiers.
Right, but the original agenda.
Right.
The original agenda item came at the last meeting by the cabinet.
Yeah, but not this.
No.
Right. So but we are saying the original one was not needed. That's what we are talking about, right? The original
No,
resolution.
we need the original. We
Why?
don't, we
Original
need to
one
authorize the
authorizes the,
superintendent
us to do, right. The
to make
Right.
budgetary line transfers.
first, right, and
We
then,
need
Listen,
that.
if we're not gonna have this agenda item, let's move on,
Right.
because
So,
It's already there.
So-
But Dan, don't we need to approve your
so now, yeah,
ability?
right.
What
Sheila's
was
right.
on the original agenda last week that was tabled? We need to authorize the superintendent to make budgetary line item transfers.
No, that's not on the motion. That's not on, the motion on the floor right now is this one. Authorization for the superintendent of schools to make budgetary line item transfers as written. With
and
it,
I'm saying I have the authority in policy and code, Sheila. So if this is
know.
done, I have it,
Oh, so we don't need to authorize it
right?
separately because it's
So
already
the,
there.
the question is, if this gets denied, you can still do it.
It has been done as a matter of practice with the board.
Okay,
Mhm.
so we'll take it off then.
no, we have to vote it. We have to vote on it.
You have to vote to table it, or, yeah.
Are we
Well, I don't-
tabling it?
Is there any motion? Is there any motion?
There's
I
a
make a motion
approve it.
to
remove it, is that what you mean? or-
remove this, thank you, remove this from the agenda. E2.
I need a second.
I second.
Okay, thank you. Okay,
The next one is 3.
Oh,
We have
wait,
to
we
vote
have
on
to vote on
I
this?
think we have to vote on it.
Oh, I'm
We gotta do a
sorry.
roll call. We have a vote on this and then we'll go to the
yeah,
next one.
Ms. Brogan,
Yes,
Mr. Donnie,
Yes,
Mr. Kaufman,
Yes.
Ms. Quack,
Yes.
and Mr. Limbo.
I just want to clarify, this is to remove it from the agenda, this motion, right?
Correct.
Yeah, yes.
Okay, great, thank you.
The next item is authorization for the Business Administrator Board Secretary to award bids in the summer. Again, this isn't how it was presented last time. The lowest responsible bid as needed for projects not to exceed 40,000. 40,000 is the number we would have to bid at above that. All right, so there's no such thing as bidding projects under 40,000. Antoinette is a qualified purchasing agent, okay? And because she has that extra credential, we do quotes above 6,000, but and bids over 40.
It's between 6 and 40, correct? She's authorized for 6 and 40, not above 40.
Right.
Above 40 is to go out. to bid.
Above 40,
Correct.
we would go out to bid.
Correct. Okay, I just wanted to clarify that. I think that there should not be any projects that should be bidded out in July and August. I would hope that all processes and everything's done by June when we are in session. Should an emergency arise that requires that approval through Zoom and other technology, we can certainly meet by special board meeting. I think that this, as written, is fair and allows us all to contribute and look at where our money is going.
No, I understand that, and you always will be, because if we had to, let's say, rebid a project that we did we thought was going to be in place in June, but then we had to rebid it, then if it came in the summer, that just gives that flexibility for the board, business administrator, board secretary to approve that until the board can approve it, so we can move forward.
what projects are you expecting, Dr. Fishbein?
This is any time. This isn't like we're not doing it necessarily for this summer. This is an authority that the BA would have every summer.
Right, but right now, as of now, because with all the changes going on and the funds that we need for unexpected, are we expecting any projects that Ms. Kelly may have to approve that the board is not aware of? We are meeting on June 4th, we are meeting on June 29th, then again, we are meeting once in July and once in August. So if new projects come up, we can talk about those on June 29th and we can approve that specific project.
I see what you're saying.
Right.
Just a change in practice.
Okay.
But as written, just so you know, there's not going to be any bidding under 40.
Correct, I think that's fair.
So I mean, our practice has always been to approve the bids at the board table, right? So
Always.
Yeah. Is this a distrust thing or what? Because I don't really follow what's going on.
Ms. Brogan, again, it's
Yeah.
not a distrust issue. I love working with you and I think we work well together. It is just a matter of why should it be business as usual? We would all like to know how the funds are being allocated. And again, this does not preclude Ms. Kelly's ability to do her job because we still meet until June 29th. We meet in July and August, and through the use of technology, we can easily convene if a need arises. If anything, we are providing additional support, additional guidance.
All we are saying is if it's a project that needs more than $40,000, we discuss that at a public meeting and residents need to know where we are spending that money. It's not something that's not budgeted, something that may come up. If something is budgeted, we discuss it at our monthly meetings. If something comes up that needs of more than $40,000 in bidding means a capital project or a maintenance or upgrade or a new professional services contract. It's not regular running the school. So any of those projects, if it comes more than $40,000, all we are asking is a public meeting, and we discuss that at a public meeting, and then the board votes on it.
Yeah, this is about transparency and just being.
I understand transparency.
Okay.
Okay, so let's just take an example. We had a pipe burst underneath the concrete at the high school on the outside terrace. And we had to do an emergency repair because we had no heat in what, a fourth of the building, Dan?
Oh.
I'm just taking an example, or half the building. And we had to move quickly on it. So this was an emergency repair. It needed to get done. It was more than $40,000. So just.
How would that happen in a normal month between when we have two meetings in a month? What happens? So in a month of April.
It was a little bit different. We went to the county superintendent. We said we had an emergency. For that emergency, they realized that and as described and allow us to do it. Okay.
So there's already that path available for you.
Right.
I did not find, an unreasonable. I think that if anything, it opens up.
And that can happen in the month of January. In the month of January, when we have two meetings in a month, if we have
I'm
a
just
meeting
saying that you need to get on it right away, and you might, if it happens the day after your meeting and you're not meeting for 2 weeks. I
Right.
think what we're looking for, I'm looking for, and I don't want to tie our business administrators' hands if the need arises. And I've never not been part of discussions where we're doing major capital projects. So the capital projects are identified in our budget, and then we bid them out, but we've established how much we can spend. Now, if it is higher than that, you have the opportunity as a board to reject, as we're doing tonight. We're rejecting the bids on the floor. and then you can rebid. And then again, if those bids come in over your expectations or you don't have bidders that meet the qualification, then you can negotiate. So there's a whole process in place where the board is informed and takes an active role. So I'm just wondering,
So my question is,
what's the hiccup here?
right, so all of that is accepted. My question is, there's no difference in board's functioning, whether when we are meeting for 2-week interval versus 4-week interval. It should happen the same way. So whatever our processes are for 2-week interval, we should follow the same processes for 4-week interval. And if there is an emergency, then we can call a special public meeting.
Or you go up to the county
Right.
superintendent, which is what you did. So there's always an opportunity.
So are we talking about that, then we don't need this because we already have processes in place?
No, I'm saying we do need this. And then you've described scenarios which can be handled appropriately because you had objections on certain, like that pipe bursting, and you thought, and
Again,
then
Sheila,
lost
right,
satisfaction.
so this came because this was put by the administration in the last meeting's agenda. So it was
Not in this form.
yeah, but it
No,
was
that
okay.
wasn't.
It was an agenda item without $40,000 limit. The
Right.
agenda
Right.
item on 27th, which we tabled, was to give business administrator an approval during summer months for any bids and approval. So that was tabled. And this time, I think Mike and Hanju has worked out $40,000. So if we don't need it, just like the previous one, then
Right.
then we don't need any. We didn't need the one which was proposed last week. That's
Right.
So that, and
Oh,
that's a
I
question
see.
I have too. So the way they originally are proposed with minus the dollar amount, and that's why I asked before, is that just kind of like a ceremonial thing that or is that we have to approve something to allow that? So, Dr. Fishman, you said it's by law.
It's a practice that we
Practice.
had, okay,
Got it.
that we used at
So,
times.
but what my question then is, if these both get removed, like the last one just got removed, should we then put them on the agenda again in the way they originally written to get
No,
spoken of, or
because
doesn't even matter?
No, I think the way it's written is fair. It's not required by New Jersey School Board Association, or there's no policy that requires this. So
No, my question is, if these get removed, do we
Yes.
still have to put something? Do we all have to agree on something, or is it just because it's law, it doesn't matter?
I don't
Well,
think
this
it's
is-
Well, the way it's written now, we don't need it.
Okay.
but you're saying the way it's written before we would need? No, right? I just want to be
No,
really
the way it was written before, we used it at times.
at times, but now that has been voted down or it has not been approved, so you will no longer have that approval, correct?
Guess not. Yep.
Yeah, guess, okay, so the option is to vote on this as written or to remove it. Is that correct, Dr. Fishbein? And the original approval would have expired because it was not renewed as written before in the last agenda.
Mhm.
So if we don't have this, then the business administrator has no authority to
Okay.
Yeah,
award a bid?
Over
During the summer?
$40,000. Over $40,000.
Is that what we want?
Yeah.
No, I don't. That's what I'm trying. That's what's concerning. I don't.
There's
think
no
it's-
bid, just so we're clear, there's no bid under 40,000.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to figure out here is the opposite side. So if this does not pass, what is our option? Do we have to make an emotion to have
So
the original
if-
one back?
No,
Or-
if this does not pass, we would have to bring together the board to approve any bid.
Or can we put back the old?
No.
Can we can that come back though? Can the board put that on the agenda for the other one?
Yes, you could.
Okay.
Doesn't mean it will pass, but you could.
I understand that. I'm concerned with, we're here to oversee things, but I also want to make sure people can do their jobs. And I want to make sure.
So Mike, on that, there's no difference between 4-week board meeting versus 2-week board meeting.
Right. It's
So
No, I
this-
get that.
this
I just
was-
want to
this
make
was
sure that,
rushed for 2 months.
yep, I know. I just want to make sure that I don't want to tie our administrators' hands. I want to make sure that they're, we do put trust in them. And I just want to make sure if this does not pass, what our option would be, what would happen? That's my question.
And if that's the scenario, then we should have that motion for all 12 months. All I'm saying is, it's not a question of trust versus mistrust. If we trust, and if that's the process, then that should be in place for all 12 months. The current policy says that any quotation or bid over 40,000 should be discussed in public and voted in public before we approve it. And it's a trust of administration versus trusting the whole. Like, we will be doing a disservice to all Ridgewood voters by approving projects without public discussion.
Well, we're talking about our summer projects because that's when we do our capital work in the summer. We don't do our capital work in the middle of the winter. Well, and I guess maybe you could if we don't have school next year. Our kids aren't in school, but the reality is that most years, normally, we do our capital projects in the summer. And bids come in, and we have already discussed and approved those projects. Then the bids come in. The bid goes to the lowest bidder, responsible bidder. If there are problems with the bids, they come back to us to reject and then rebid, as you've seen before on the agenda stuff. I guess, not to belabor this anymore, I would move to delete the not to exceed $40,000. Otherwise, we want the authorization for the
Then you're
business
changing
administrator.
it. If you delete it, then you're changing it.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm making a motion to do.
It would be to amend the motion. I believe it's-
No, she's removing.
You'd be a,
I don't think there was a motion to accept that, so I'm
Oh.
making a motion,
okay. Okay.
okay? But
Got it. I got you.
but
If there's a
can amend
motion,
the
you're,
word. Yeah,
gotcha.
Okay.
So is there a motion to accept number 3? That is the number talking, right?
Wait, number 3 as written or number 3 not to exceed 40,000?
No, number 3 is written.
I second.
No, I'm not making the motion. I'm asking if there's a motion.
No,
Yes,
the
there
motion
is
is
a
to
motion.
remove.
It was in the consent agenda. I'm making a motion to accept consent agenda item E Finance number 3 as written. Authorization for the business administrator board secretary to award bids during the summer, during the months of July and August, to the lowest responsive bidder as needed for projects not to exceed $40,000. All awards will be placed on the next agenda for ratification.
I second it.
Okay. Ms. Brogan,
no, not as written.
Mr. Donnie,
Yes.
Mr. Kaufman,
Yes.
Ms. Kwok,
Yes.
and Mr. Limbo.
No.
Okay.
Okay, the motion carries.
All right. Next is the renewal of the agreement for refuse and recycling removal services and agreement. So I believe this is our third year, going to be our third year, and they've never raised the price.
It's the third and final year of the contract.
Yep.
So I requested to pull it out mainly for 2
6.
discussion items on that before we vote on that. The first one is I would like to encourage to talk to Village before it's up for renewal. So I know it's the 3rd year of the contract and it's going to be for 1 year. So before we do that again, because I think in the background information, you mentioned it was discussed with the Village a long time ago.
No. They the Village used to pick up our garbage without cost.
Right.
They said they were going to charge us we said we would go out to bid. They were bidders on it. They were not successful. We can try and pull that stuff out, but their cost was double.
But that was years ago. That was a few years ago or several years.
So I think they should, if they want to, and each time we've bidded, we have told them that they could bid on it.
Okay. Yeah, so that was my point, that when it comes up for its renewal at the end of the year, we should talk to them. And the other one was, as Ms. Kelly, you have renegotiated some other contracts during COVID time. Are we trying to renegotiate that when we have less attendance at the school, or it's we need?
Oh, for the garbage removal?
Yeah.
No, I have not done that.
No, the buildings are being cleaned and things are being thrown out. So the trucks are still making the runs to our buildings. It's less tonnage, but they are picking up garbage.
Okay, so those were the only two items that I wanted to discuss before we vote, but I'll be voting yes.
Mhm.
Okay, so I'm going to do a roll call on that now.
What are we roll calling? What number?
I'm sorry, it's Finance 6, Finance 6, the garbage, the last renewal on the contract.
Okay.
Okay.
So is there a motion on the table, or are we just?
It's the same, what as written.
Oh, as written.
So Mr. Donnie, motion, need a second?
Yes.
Second.
Okay. Okay, I'm sorry, I was getting ahead of myself. Okay, Ms. Brogan,
Yes.
Mr. Donnie,
Yes.
Mr. Kaufman,
Yes.
Ms. Kwok,
Yes.
and Mr. Limbo.
Yes.
Okay.
The next item is item 10, I believe,
Yeah.
rejection of bids for the high school gym floor replacement.
No, yes, you're right. Replacement.
Yeah.
Yes. Mhm. Yeah.
The reason why I pulled them out for discussion was that I thought that this did not pass. The board did not approve this project. So I'm surprised that we went out for bidding.
We had already gone through the process and put the
Right,
bid.
but we didn't board on it. I feel like there was a little bit of a timing issue. The board decided not to proceed with it, but yet we are presented with these bids. These bids happen to fail for various reasons, but I disagree that it should be resolved that you're authorized to re-advertise the project because we never voted. It did not pass. We never voted for approval. So I feel like this, you should not be going I don't believe this should be a consent agenda that should pass as written, where you are authorized to re-advertise a project because a project, again, did not pass. We did not get to vote on it as a board.
I do think this is a good project for the board. It does have known hazardous chemical in there. It is below the current levels. But as we're all aware, those levels can change. And we'd be right back into the situation.
I am saying that we should have discussion on it.
Considerable wear and tear on the floor. And I think this is a appropriate project to do right now.
But
So
again,
and Mike, I sent an email asking some data and some public discussion that because I forwarded you a sample presentation that was done by another school district. So all I'm requesting is a public discussion on what's needed, what's the project, and then we approve it. So, or like when we consider to approve it. So before, currently the previous board rejected it or deferred it. And I have not seen, as a resident in the public meetings or as a board member now, any numbers, any data why should we be approving that project? So
Okay.
we just need a public
All that-
presentation,
all-
and then
just-
then we can approve that.
I have no recollection about board meetings, but I do know in February, the letter was sent with the data and all that supporting data documentation to anyone who has students in the district or subscribes to our e-news. So it's been in the public.
But not to all the taxpayers, not to all the residents of Ridgewood, not at the board meeting. So all I think I even sent samples. And right now, if we don't have an architect on board, we need to know who will be doing that project.
No,
My questions-
that was it. That environmental PowerPoint you did was done by the environmental firm.
Right. So I sent a sample. So
So
we can create.
there's two parts to this. There's
Mhm.
the removal of the hazardous material and then the replacement of the floor. Okay?
Mhm.
So currently, we do not have that project approved. Previous board rejected that project. So all I'm asking for is a public presentation at a public meeting that why do we need to do that project? And how will we make sure that the bid process is transparent, or design and bid will be done by different firms? We discuss that at a public meeting. And the third point is, from all the projects that we have in the pipeline, why would we pick this as the top priority if we have less resources or limited resources right now? So
Well,
those
I
are the
can
three things
answer
that
that.
we can
It has
discuss
a
at public
known
meeting.
hazardous material in it.
But
I
it
just want
is-
to jump in real quick too, because I think this is, even though I voted this down, I kind of, almost, came back and said I'd changed my mind, because this has shades of Orchard. What was approved, what was within guidelines years and years ago at Orchard has now changed. So I just want to be careful, because if we don't address this now, and in 10 years, as Dr. Fishbein is saying, that these are hazardous materials, in 10 years, if the guidelines have changed, and all of a sudden we find out that this was something that was dangerous, like Orchard, we're going to have a community that is extremely upset that had kids playing on this basketball court. And we knew that there was a hazardous material there. And because it wasn't within the range of dangers, we didn't do anything about it. Now, I'm not saying we should do something about it, but I don't think we should just simply push this aside and not
No,
address it. So
Chris,
I'm agreeing with you, Mr. Donnie. I'm
Yes.
saying that maybe we do need a public presentation so that the
Yes.
public can understand that if we do have to spend this money.
That's all
that
I've
there-
asked
this-
for.
Yeah, no, I agree. And,
Yes.
and again, I voted this down as money that we shouldn't spend, but I also thought that we didn't talk about it enough and that we didn't bring it to the public's attention enough. And I don't want an Orchard situation to happen again. So
Yeah,
I'm
I don't
in
want
line
it.
with all of you.
Right. The only thing I requested Dr. Fishbein and Mike is a public presentation that what is the current situation, where we are with this project or the gym floor, what are the state standard, where are we? And then what is the list of our projects that we have to take, and where does this fit in that priority?
So this project
just-
is in
I'm sorry.
this year's budget,
I was going to say
Not
this,
next
not
year.
next year.
this year's budget. And so it needs, as I understand it, right, do you have to have it bid by the 30th of,
Yeah, it needs to be
have to have a
bid,
bid
yeah,
by the 30th of
and
June
awarded, so.
and
Right, so
awarded.
this
Is
discussion
there any
happened
harm-
at May 4th meeting. The same argument was made, and Mr. Morgan mentioned at that meeting that
Yeah.
if it doesn't happen this year, the money will be moved back, and it just goes to the next year. So,
Right.
Well, it doesn't go to the next year, it goes to reserves.
Right, correct, but reserves that are then rolled forward, if you don't, that's exactly the purpose of reserves.
So this is
That's a
for
maintenance.
the previous, but the current budget, not the budget that we're looking at, correct?
Correct. Mhm.
And just so I'm clear though, that we have to put this out to bid again because these three were rejected.
Correct.
This project, this gym has to be closed. So if this is done into the fall, their students can't be in the building, or it's just
This type of remediation is a closed building remediation.
okay.
So, but I would like to emphasize that this, we don't this project was not approved. I don't think you can go out to bid when the project with the board.
We had already gone out to the.
We've
I
already
know,
gone
but
out.
the fact that
Right,
you went
we had-
out before you got board approval is what you're
Yeah, we didn't award, you hadn't awarded the contract.
right. But now, what I'm saying is we should, as a board, vote whether we should, you cannot automatically go out to bid when the project has not been approved. It did not.
No. It was
The project-
originally approved.
Approved.
Let's be
Project
clear.
was approved.
Wait, let me finish.
Go
It
ahead.
was originally approved because we transferred the money into capital this year. Okay? So it was originally approved. It was after we started the bidding process that the board then changed their mind, which they can do. But I want to be very clear. The board gave us the authority to do this work this year.
But not on May 4th, the most recent meeting, which you have to go
I
by.
understand, but
Correct.
this was already in process.
It was already in process. New information comes out. You are completely compliant now. The public deserves an opportunity to understand what this project entails. What does it mean? Are you compliant or not? Yes, we are today. The public has a right to know. The fact that you sent in an email is great, but it doesn't mean it's tacit approval. I actually don't know.
I didn't say I have tacit approval. I was saying it has been in the public. That's all I said.
I think we pulled it out because we were worried with the pandemic. I think
Correct.
that's why we pulled it out. We were worried about spending money when we could, if we ever needed extra money. So I think
But we
things
wouldn't
changed.
be able to because it's in capital.
It's in capital, but you have projects that, again, just because it's in capital doesn't mean you have to use it this year.
I'm not saying that. I just want everyone to be clear.
Correct.
It can't go from capital to get a teacher. It can't.
I understand, but capital, if you roll it, becomes a surplus.
I'm not saying that.
Releases funds
Just
from
want
other
everyone to be
sources. You do not then replenish your capital
And
surplus.
all I'm requesting is before board approves this project, let's do a public presentation and
So,
inform the public, why do we need this project? What are the state requirements and where we are? And then we approve it.
so we're meeting on Wednesday this week,
Thursday.
Thursday.
No.
Thursday.
Yeah, we won't be able to do it for Thursday.
You wouldn't be able to pull information together for Thursday?
We have information, but to do it right in this
Okay,
this atmosphere, there's no way we could do it.
okay. So then it's the 29th, and if by that time, it doesn't happen this year, this summer.
Or if people are in the building, we just have to exclude them during the time of the remediation, not the installation.
But again, we're fully compliant today. I would like to just understand where's the deviation? Right now, the bar is very low, 0.8 micrograms. So are you saying that we are very close to the 0.8? I'd just like to have some more information.
Okay? You'll get
And I
it.
think the public should know, look, here's where we are. Here's the standard. Here's what's required. So, so the motion right now is the rejection of the bid. So this, I do not agree with the last part. I would like to reject this and amend the motion.
Amend the motion to remove the last paragraph. That's all.
Correct.
Well, I think this is what we had before. I think we have to talk about the original motion, correct?
Okay. Yep, the original motion, we should have the original motion is reject the bids and you go out to rebid again.
Right, but I think we have to,
Someone
Wait.
moves it.
How do you rebate unless the board has approved the project?
I second.
So we can't, Mike, in this scenario, we can't vote on the original motion because the original motion cannot happen.
Correct.
The project
I
was
think-
referred by the board. on
What?
the
No,
14th.
you're rejecting the bids. This is not.
I think you have to reject the bids. I don't think you
yeah,
can.
no, I think we have to talk about the original motion and then you
Right,
can
but
bring
the
a new
original
motion with an amendment.
Original motion says that reject the bid, and at the same time, it also authorizes to rebid.
Yes, right.
Right, so we cannot go for bidding again until the project is approved by the board.
Right, but we need to reject.
Right, we have to vote on the-
reject the bid.
Right, so that's why
Oh,
what Hanju is saying, amend the motion to remove the last paragraph, and then we vote on it.
Mhm.
Right, but I think we have to do the original motion, and if that defeats or passes, if it passes, it doesn't matter. If it
But we can't
gets
do that
defeated, you
because
can amend it.
how does a board vote on bidding for a project that the project was not approved? The board voted on May 4th
It
to
was-
defer this project.
No, but
was
It was
approved.
approved. It
May
was.
4th, on
May
May 4th, the board
It
voted.
was
to-
originally approved and then we went out to bid and then you got, then.
Yeah,
it-
as of today,
Yeah. Mhm.
as of today, there's a board motion that was voted on May 4th to defer this project. So when the board voted to defer this project, we can't vote to go back for the bidding.
Just so we're clear, the bids were out before May 4th,
Right,
okay? So when we put the bids out, we had board approval,
right.
okay? If you pass this motion, this agenda item, to me, that would mean that you're approving the project, the way it's written.
Right, and all I'm saying is we need a.
So if
public
you don't want to
presentation.
approve the projects, you have to, this has to fail, and you have to set a new agenda item.
Right, so if somebody is voting today on this project, is this motion as yes, then you're saying you don't need public presentation on a project before you're approving it.
No, this was discussed.
No, not at a board meeting.
But now if this amendment though gets rejected, do those bids still get rejected? They're
Well-
already,
Well, we have to do something
have
to
to-
reject them. We
you have to reject
reject
that.
them.
Gotta do that at least.
So
right.
I think we have to go with Hanju's motion to
Kind of split it.
Amend it.
as written without the last paragraph.
Correct.
Is that right?
Yes.
All
Amend by
but the last
striking.
paragraph. Yeah.
Yeah.
So reject the
Move
bid.
to amend the motion, by striking.
The last paragraph of that resolution.
Yes.
I move that. Or did you move that, Hanju?
I move that. I need a second.
I'll second.
So just so we're clear, we are going to be voting to reject the bids.
Right.
And that's it. That's all we're doing because now the last paragraph has been struck where it authorizes re-advertise the project. That will not occur. We are just rejecting the bids.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
my understanding.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Ms. Brogan,
Yes.
Mr. Donnie,
Yes,
Mr. Kaufman,
Yes.
Ms. Quack,
Yes.
and Mr. Limbo.
Yes.
Okay.
So now there is the question about having that come back onto the agenda as a project.
We'll
we
do
have
that
to-
presentation in June.
Yeah.
On June 29th, but then we've lost our window this
Well,
year.
If we can, if the buildings are still closed or we close it, then we can do it.
But I think Sheila's talking about the money, right?
Right. You're right. You're right.
Is it? Mhm.
No,
Yeah.
you don't lose it. It stays in reserves.
Well,
It's
you
in
lose the
reserve.
ability to use it in this year's budget is what I meant to say.
Right, but you use it to carry over to the next budget. Just the money doesn't disappear. The money
It
just,
doesn't disappear, the project.
I didn't say that. I meant it.
thank
It's
you.
not in this year's budget anymore.
Correct. It becomes the next year's budget.
Right.
Correct.
No, it becomes
goes
money
into
in
reserves.
reserve.
Goes into
Doesn't
reserves.
become it doesn't become a project for next year unless we approve it for a project. Doesn't
Right.
become a project for the summer unless we approve it. So
Correct.
are we going to talk about it on June 29th? And if the board should decide to move forward, Dan and Antoinette, could we do it this summer? What's the bidding process?
I have to
How-
find out now. The problem is I have to find out from the county if we can, because it wasn't an approved.
Right.
approved project as part of the 2021 budget. I'd have to find out if we can.
Well, we'll find out before we make the presentation.
I find out
Okay.
if we can
So
do it.
I'm just suggesting that if you feel and the board feels we should get this information and make a decision prior to June 29th, so that if we were to approve it, we could have it done within this school year's budget. If you feel there should be a special meeting, I'd be open to that.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Next, I pulled aside, just for discussion, the approval of proposal, now item number 13, approval of proposal for environmental remediation oversight, case closure at Orchard Elementary School.
Mhm.
This is seeking approval for WSP to be paid $146,148 for oversight and for documentation. I was just struck by how much it was, because this is on top of Tricon at 543,000.
Mhm.
So I just would like to discuss it. It's important we get this done. Absolutely. I just would like to understand. It just seems, it was disheartening to see that number. It just seemed like a very high number. If you could shed any more light on it.
I wish it was less too, but remember, they are working under a special certification, LSRP. They're acting in a way on the state's behalf, because the state doesn't have enough people to oversee these projects. So it's a very specialized certification. They're not only going to have people there doing oversight daily of the work, they'll be having people who will be doing, you know, the testing of the soil as it comes in. I forget how many tests there's going to be. And then they need to make sure that the elevations are correct. And then there's significant paperwork to close it out and to make it a site that then needs either annual or biannual inspections.
Is there any idea what those annual or biannual inspections are? Will they also be conducted by WSP?
They could be, you know, currently at Hawes, I believe Land does it.
Okay.
They have an environmental side too.
So Land is overseeing WSP as well, correct?
No, they were helping us as consultants during the process.
Yes.
But no, they're not going to be overseeing this.
Okay, so it would just be solely WSP and Tricon.
Yep.
Mhm. Yep.
From the process perspective, I just want to understand how WSP bid of 146,000 is coming now after the project is already approved and we already selected the general contractor who's going to be doing the work. So we paid WSP more than $20,000 in 2017 for the state paperwork. They submitted all the paperwork for approvals. And then this year, we already paid them. We picked them as our LSRP. We already paid them $12,000 or $13,000. And that was part of the initial documentation and state paperwork. And then in this 146, again, they have planning and initial paperwork. So how does this number, did we know going in that when we hired them for first 20,000 and then 12,000, that they will come back with this 146 bid? Or where?
Right, this is not a bid, they're a professional service.
Right.
Okay, is this late? Yes. We have been after them for quite some time to get us this documentation. We wish we had it earlier, months earlier, but it appears that they're all off-site and it's not running as smoothly as other companies that are working off-site. So this is,
And then-
go
Sorry.
ahead.
Yeah, I'm just saying that the other PO that's open, that was still open, Mr. Donnie, was to do the bid specs for the project and that documentation as well. So that was separate from this, the one we paid recently or been
Right,
paid.
that was in the last 27th meeting in all the vendor list. So we had WSP there. So
Yeah.
when we paid them that money, or when we hired them as a professional services
Mhm.
firm for this, we did not know how much they're going to charge, and we hired them.
For this piece?
Yeah,
No, I did not. It was a separate proposal. I be honest with you, I didn't know.
so
I-
how much are we over budgeted on Orchard project overall?
I think if we're not, I'm trying to think, if we're not doing the, the paving part, then we're, I think 49.
I have 89,000, if you don't.
Yeah, no, I'm
Oh,
saying,
did
but
you
if
pick up? Correct, correct,
we
yeah,
do the paving, then we're about 49.
correct.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because the task to remediation of contractor oversight, it's 20% markup. They're getting, so it just struck me as just it's an astonishing number considering they're not doing the work, the actual digging. So
Yeah.
it must be
Yeah.
done, but.
Yeah, I mean, they have to do the monitoring, like they're going to be monitoring the air, making sure that everything is, to keep the dust down and
They'll stop the project if they have to. They're going to be there on site as much as the contractor.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying.
You're welcome. Okay.
I have an unconventional request. I need to amend my vote on e-finance number 3. Can I do that?
I don't think so. Can you?
What one was it?
It was you're authorizing you the $40,000.
I think it passed. Can you go back and re-amend?
That's why I'm asking. I'm not comfortable with my decision.
I don't know. I've never had this happen to me before, so.
It just, talking about the basketball court and how I felt the last time, this was one of those that I wasn't really comfortable with. And the more I thought about it during the meeting, I'm not comfortable with my decision.
So you want to limit it to the $40,000?
No,
Oh, you do not want to limit it.
correct.
I didn't remember what you vote. What did you vote?
I voted yes,
Yes. Oh, and you want to vote no now?
correct.
Uh,
I know it's,
I gotta look this up.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry.
So,
The more I thought about it, the more I felt that Antoinette has been doing this a long time. It comes before us. The money's already been part of the capital projects.
Which
I just
projects, Chris, are you expecting?
I think we'd have to make.
I don't know any. I don't have anything specific, but I just think, I just think that Antoinette has basically our trust. Not that it's not a trust issue, but that I feel like Antoinette knows what she's doing. The capital improvements are already in the budget, and I just don't feel like that needs additional oversight.
I think that's the clarification we need then from the board, that what capital projects are in the budget. Because they were in the budget failed. And as of today, there are no capital projects that are in the budget, and we don't have an architect firm. So
No, they're actually all still in the budget. It's all in the budget documents. All the projects that were presented in the budget were presented. The process we're going through now with the municipality is simply resetting the tax rate. Okay, so the capital projects do not impact the tax rate, so they're actually still there. Whether we do them or not is another question.
But I
Yeah,
think
I-
on May
Hey,
4th,
well-
the board voted to defer the capital
This is
projects.
not, it's not really,
until-
Saurabh, it's not really up for
So, yeah,
discussion. It's my personal decision. So what I'm saying is I'm not comfortable with the decision I made. Do I have the ability to change my vote?
So
Yes,
what
you
I
can
think
put it-
is,
You can make a motion. You
I
can
would
make a
say,
motion.
I would say that motion is over. But if you'd like to make a new motion,
Okay,
and then we can vote on that. I think that's,
okay, I would
proper way.
like to make a motion to amend my vote.
no, you make
You
a,
have to amend you have to make a motion to approve that agenda item without the 40,000. That would have to be your,
right, you
Okay,
make the motion, right, they make that motion that you, and then we will revote.
Okay. Just so the language is correct, can somebody tell me exactly what it is? And then I will say that is the motion I'd like to propose.
So wait, can we just, before we do that, can we just finish the approval for the orchard and then we can go back to the other item? Because we kind of got sidetracked.
Oh, I thought we were done
yeah.
there.
No, we weren't, we didn't
I
get to
thought-
vote on it. We had a
okay, my-
discussion.
I didn't
thought
get
you were
it.
asking for clarification.
Yeah.
All right,
My fault.
let's go back
Okay.
then. I
Yeah,
believe we
okay.
did not get a motion on 13. Is there a motion on that?
I make
Is
a
that where we were?
motion to approve
Yes.
WPS.
Yes.
I'll second.
I need to, who was the second on that?
Chris,
Mr. Kaufman.
All right, I lost your audio. Sorry.
Yeah, these start to die after a while. I had to switch my,
Everything's falling apart on my side.
Okay, let me take a roll call. Ms. Brogan,
Yes.
Mr. Donnie,
Yes,
Mr. Kaufman,
Yes.
okay, Ms. Kwok, and Mr. Limbo, sorry.
yes, it's a long night. It's okay.
Okay.
So that 13 passes. Now we're going to go back,
Mhm.
and there's a motion. Mr. Kaufman was requesting to make a motion on E-Finance 3. And if you said you want to read it minus the 40,000, is that what you wanted?
I want to amend my vote. So I don't know how to propose that.
Then why don't we re-vote? Wait, I don't know, this motion passed.
Yeah,
So
I don't think you're right. I don't think you can re-vote, but I think you can make a motion. You can make the same motion,
Okay.
basically, and then we could do a re-vote. I
Okay.
believe.
Then I'd like to make a motion for E-Finance number 3.
Pretty fast.
Authorization for the business administrator, board secretary to award bids during the summer.
I'm sorry, so are we re-voting on the same thing?
Yes.
Okay, all right, here we go.
But as written,
Well, no, yeah, but this would be
As-
it's a new motion.
yes, so.
It's
it's not-
written,
not-
so-
My apologies.
Right. It's the same wording, but it's a new motion. It's not, we're not re-voting on
No,
this.
exactly.
No, we're revisiting
Yes.
E3
Hence number 3,
as written.
as written,
As
And we're
written,
gonna,
as written.
and we're gonna vote on how it, okay, got
Yes.
it.
Then I would need someone to second that for me, please.
I second.
Okay. Ms. Brogan,
No.
Mr. Donnie,
yes,
Mr. Kaufman,
No.
Ms. Kwok,
yes.
and Mr. Limbo.
No.
Okay.
Sorry, everyone. I have to go to sleep tonight and live with myself.
yep. All right.
So,
I move.
just so we're clear, do we need any authorization for you to be able to authorize summer projects?
You would.
Yeah. So
That's
I
not-
make a motion that we authorize the business administrator, board secretary to award bids during the summer.
I would like to ask for a clarification on which projects are we expecting to authorize?
The ones that are approved by the board.
Can we list the projects that are approved by the board?
I think we have to discuss that. There are the things that are in the budget, but if there is a feeling that we're not going to move forward on them, then I guess we'll need to discuss them. But the board prior board, in approving the budget, approved those projects for the summer of 2020.
And I remember a meeting from May 4th where the prior board deferred those projects, and the prior board specifically said that they're only approving Orchard project, and until Orchard project is completed, no project should be undertaken. That was the prior board's decision on May 4th.
I don't believe,
Yeah, but-
I don't believe it was that
Another-
we were not, I think that our priority was to make sure that the Orchard projects had the funding. So we
Right.
see with these bids,
And this
we
board
have the
just
funding
today
within the
voted-
capital.
This board voted today that we should go out for RFP and we should look for a new architect. And so that's one. The first point is we just voted that we should look for a new architect. We have the COVID-19 environment where we have uncertainty of funding. A lot of homeowners are delaying their own renovation projects. And at that time, if we are saying that we want to find a workaround of getting an approval from this board and do the bathroom renovations, I think that is wrong. That is just completely wrong to do a workaround to do a bathroom projects and not discuss them at the public meeting.
There is no
Donnie,
It's
we
workaround.
would never,
it's just wrong on the
ever.
taxpayers' part that we are saying, hey, so let's not bring that for a public discussion. All we are asking for, if there are capital projects we need to do, let's discuss them at the public meeting. And if you're trying to find ways around to do those without public meeting, we are doing a disservice to the taxpayers.
Okay, this is not a
No.
workaround.
Yeah, I
It
don't
has to
think
be
that's the
with board
case.
approval. Yeah,
So
No,
right
board-
now,
The board approval was from the prior board, and this board has already voted that let's go for RFP, and the budget failed. So you're talking about a prior board's budget resolution, which was voted down. So I don't understand how are those projects still in the budget? That budget was voted down.
so that's maybe a separate discussion point. I think we can move forward with the agenda right now. Ms. Kelly's authorization is not there, so we can just move on to the rest.
Well, I mean, Ms. Brogan, if you had a
Isn't it-
motion, yeah, if you had a motion,
Did you have a
she
second?
needs,
What was
she
your motion?
needs to have the flexibility if the
Yeah.
board decides, you
So
know,
then
Yeah.
I need a clarification. I need a clarification that is the board, are we saying that we have approved projects for which Ms. Kelly needs to do bidding and approval without a public meeting in next 3 months? I need that clarification today. That are we talking about BF
Well,
and GW
there, what
bathroom
if, what
project?
happens if there is something that comes up that
No, that's fine.
But-
I'm just asking
Yeah.
for clarification on BF and GW bathroom project.
Mhm.
Is this being done for a workaround for that project?
no,
Well,
Absolutely
no,
not.
because
Will this-
you guys
will this-
have to, you have to
Will this
approve the budget.
will this authorization be used if it's passed today to do GW and BF bathroom projects?
You
But
have
would
to
that be
approve
on
it
the
first.
budget that we approve? Wouldn't that already be in the budget if we approve it?
So
No,
when
the
you
budget is
approve the
already-
new budget, when you approve the new budget on the, I think we're meeting on the special meeting on the 4th with the cuts that we're gonna have, you're gonna have those capital projects or I
Right,
think,
but I have requested Dr. Fishbein for a public meeting on, and I request this presentation where and even Mike, and I've requested that we pick a different architect and a company that is doing the projects for a $500,000 project. Why do we want to find a workaround and do those projects without discussing?
Mr. Donnie, you keep saying someone's trying to do a workaround. We're not trying to do a workaround.
So then
okay?
let's do
There
the
won't be
presentation.
something approved and then the board is forced to do that. We don't work that way. We never will.
So then all I'm asking is what are the projects for which we need this approval that desperately?
hold on, and let me just see if I'm wrapping my head around this. This is for pre-approved projects that are within 10% of the pre-approved budget for Ms. Kelly over 2 months to approve. This isn't to create projects. This isn't, there's no projects, and correct me if I'm wrong here, there's no project that we wouldn't have already pre-approved. These are projects that are already approved by the budget to be
And
approved.
what are those projects, Mike?
Well, exactly, there is none. But if
Right,
there's
so
something that we
then why do
approved,
Then why do we need this motion?
Right, we don't need the motion, and I think we can move forward.
well, no,
Have-
there already is a motion.
But there was no,
Have to-
There's no second.
there's no second.
We haven't gone out for bid on the bathrooms, right?
No, we have.
We did. These were all things
what-
that, remember,
That's
we
what I thought we had.
approved,
Yeah.
we approved Lance's proposal to do it. As a,
Right.
you,
But if we did those projects, Mr. Donnie, they would come to you before July 1st. Okay? We wouldn't be using this.
So then we did,
All I'm trying to understand is why do we need this?
yeah, I'm still a little struck. Why, what bids, you're saying all these bids should be, if we want to do a summer project, why would someone come in July and August for a summer project? So I think the way it stands now, where it's not there, is an acceptable solution.
Okay, I move to amend it, Ms. Brogan's motion to add except.
No, I never had a
Bathroom project.
second.
She never had
I
a
never
second.
had a second.
Wait,
So
wait,
it's
hold on.
off the table.
So if we are moving and if you don't have a list of projects, and if you are not trying to find a workaround for those 3 projects, let's add them explicitly here that except bathroom renovation projects, turf project, and what was the third project that was?
No. The turf project needs to get done.
That's fine. All I asked for is a public presentation where we show the difference between the 2 firms, the one that was used by village and the firm that was used by school. And this is not a new request. I've been asking for that for last 3 months at public meetings before the election. That was part of our agenda, that we will be transparent with residents. So if this needs to happen, all we are asking is a public presentation which will say what is the difference between those 2 firms, why are we picking one over the other, and what is the difference between those 2 products.
I think we're getting away from, this motion.
All I'm asking is a public presentation before we move forward with the project.
So I think we
It
have
is a
to put it
workaround.
onto
That
the,
is what we are trying to
Yeah.
do here. We are
Put it
trying to.
onto
the Mr. Donnie, hold
agenda
on.
for the 29th.
Project.
Yeah, I think we're getting away from the original proposal with Ms. Kelly with approving projects. There was a motion that you had a question on. Was there even a second to that?
No.
If there was not, I think then we're going to discussion areas where I think that's where you're heading into a different direction.
Yeah,
So if there's no second and the other
Right.
one failed, we're done.
we're done.
Yeah.
Correct.
Is there a second? I didn't hear
No.
one because I know.
Second. There was no second.
Okay.
Okay, so
So next is, I think that's all the discussion, right, Ms. Kelly? I think they were pulled out.
yes,
We're two.
that
We're
was it.
two.
that was it.
That was all that was pulled out. I just want to make one comment on the agenda because I just want to make something clear for the church, the Presbyterian Church parking lot rental.
Yeah.
It did go up $500, but that was because they've actually added another parking space. So it's for a 70-second space. So it wasn't an increase on the rental, it was really because they added another space. So I just wanted to.
That's number 9, correct?
Yes, yeah, I just
Okay.
wanted to clarify
Thank
why there was an increase, okay? Yep,
All right, bills.
I move approval of the bills. I reviewed them all last Friday. And they are as listed.
I second.
okay. Okay. Just lost my place, sorry.
It's board member announcements.
All right, let me just take,
No, we,
We have to do a vote on the bills.
sorry, Ms. Brogan,
Okay.
yes,
Mr. Donnie,
Yes,
Mr. Kaufman,
Yes.
Ms. Quack, and Mr. Limbo. Oh, Ms. Quack
Yes.
and Mr. Limbo.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay,
Now we go to the board member announcements.
I've
Ms.
got-
Brogan?
yeah, I've got some legislative stuff, or just
Great.
some clarification. So on the Federal CARES Act, recently there have been reports about the CARES Act Elementary Secondary School Emergency Relief Fund. So that's ESSER-F, allocated by Congress. According to a memo from the New Jersey Department of Education, ESSER funds are for school districts to address the areas most impacted by the disruption and closure of schools caused by COVID-19. By accepting this funding, the state agrees that they will, one, maintain their funding for education equal to their average support for the preceding 3 years. So the states can't use this federal funding to cover budget shortfalls. And two, school districts receiving these funds must follow the regulations as outlined by the state. Out of the $13.2 billion in ESSER funds approved by Congress, New Jersey will receive $310 million. From this, the New Jersey Department of Education will allocate $279 and change million to the school district that in 2019-2020 received Title 1A funding. The ESSER relief funds are allocated in the same proportion as the state allocates our Title 1A funding. New Jersey Department for Education released the ESSER funds allocations for school districts, and Ridgewood would be eligible for $115,912. ESSER funds may be used for costs accrued back to March 13th, 2020, when schools closed, and must be spent prior to September 30th, 2022. So it's a pretty big window. The CARES Act also granted money for education through the Governor's Emergency Education Relief Fund, or GEAR. GEAR is funded by the federal government in the amount of $3 billion for direct, flexible education funding for the governors to provide to school districts, higher education, early childhood education, and other education entities. New Jersey is to receive $69 million, and Governor Murphy has proposed focusing this money on New Jersey's colleges and universities, as their need is also great as they plan for the reopening or providing both in-person and remote learning opportunities for their students. So that's with the federal money. The state aid. There was an article in the Record on Saturday which quotes Governor Murphy, and he says, in the absence of bonding or federal cash assistance, which the legislature is discussing, a lot of things we hold dear, we will not be able to fund. Asked if further cuts to school funding were possible, Murphy said everything is on the table. So there have been a couple of different reports. Last week, the New Jersey Treasurer released a report that stated funding would be flat for 2021, and that the proposed $336 million increase in school aid for school districts would not be funded. For Ridgewood, that would appear to be a loss of $654,822. Furthermore, the report said that the September state aid payment would be delayed until October, and the extraordinary aid funding payment would also be delayed to October. There was no word exactly on what the amount of extraordinary aid will be, and whether in fact we would lose a month of our payment. So whether we would get a 10 months worth of payments or 9 months of payments, it's unclear. New information came out at the end of last week that the New Jersey Department for Education And they produced some figures that said the aid reduction could be not the $654,000 and change, but $446,728. This said, it is likely that we won't really know the exact state aid numbers or the amount of extraordinary aid until late August or mid-September, when Governor Murphy makes his recommendation to the legislature, and the legislature then crafts the 2021 fiscal year budget, and they will have to the end of September to approve that budget, which will then be in place for 9 months for a fiscal year that's really not a year, going from October 2020 to June 30, 2021. So I think we all just have to make our best judgment on some of the conflicting reports that are out there, because we really won't know until the governor, I think till we see the tax returns come in, the income tax returns come in July, and then there's more forecasting, sales tax, the opening up of the economy, and then have the governor make his recommendation, and then the legislature has to duke it out really about what they'll do. So that's about what's happening in Trenton. There's a lot of unanswered questions.
Thank you,
Great,
Ms.
thank
Berlin.
you.
I'd like to provide an update on the budget, defeated budget discussions with the village council.
Wait, hold on. Let's do it. I'm gonna do it on committee reports.
Oh, you want to do that?
Let me do, yeah. Let me see if, Mr. Donnie, do you have any announcements or anything? Nothing? Mr. Kaufman? Ms. Kwok?
No, I'll do mine at board committee.
Okay. And then I'm gonna go then board committees, and I believe the only committee we have right now is the budget. So Ms. Kwok.
So we've had very constructive, collaborative discussions with the village council on the defeated budget. We're very thankful to Dr. Fishbein for identifying opportunities that will allow us to continue to deliver programming and address the curricular needs of the students. He will protect both the programs in place, and he's identified the areas. So thank you very much to Dr. Fishbein and Antoinette Kelly for working hard on revisiting the 2021 budget. So more details to follow. Thank you to from the village side, it was Deputy Mayor Susan Knudsen, Councilwoman Ms. Walsh, Village Manager, the CFO, and on our side it was Ms. Sheila Brogan, myself, Dr. Fishbein, and Ms. Kelly. So it was a group effort, and we wanted to respect the vote and give Dr. Fishbein enough financial runway for all the potential expenses to come, but without cutting programs and people. So thank you.
The council will be making, council will be discussing it on Wednesday.
Right.
The outcome of our discussions. At that point, we'll have a discussion on and approval of the budget on Thursday.
Just to be clear, so some of the areas that we looked at to make reductions is the area of some budgeted capital, budgeted maintenance, and so some of that budgeted maintenance is areas we plan to use for the additional expenses for reopening of schools to do it properly. So we won't have that bucket. We'll have to find it within the budget someplace else. Okay.
Right there, because of the different regulations that we are under, there's always a surplus. We never run negative, the district, as all districts should. So there are surpluses that will be reallocated efficiently. So yes, Dr. Fishbein will have the flexibility to manage this crisis with the resources on hand. So we'll discuss that.
Well, if the money goes into reserves, there's restrictions on those reserves.
Right, but there's the unassigned fund balance, which is over $2.2 million, and we have 1.8 million surplus that will.
Right,
So
so.
anyway, details to follow.
No, I know, the unrestricted fund balance can only be used after April 1st,
Correct,
June 30th. So that would not be helpful for this.
right, we're talking about something else, correct.
No, we're talking about the same thing, right?
Mhm.
No, he's not
Unrestricted,
talking about,
unrestricted is our surplus. We're not touching that. Yeah.
right,
So we find the money within our budget,
correct,
and we will also, and I'm not, I mean, I was part of these discussions, and I understand them. We also are facing with some state cuts, so we don't know exactly what changes will be made to our budget at this point when we consider all of the things that will need to be funded.
And
correct.
that's, I go back to the previous discussion that we were having 10 minutes ago. So when we have legislative update and when we talk about budget, we talk about an uncertainty and
Yeah.
right. So we have an uncertainty, and that at the same time we are okay in doing $500,000 in bathroom renovation. That does not, to me, these two don't add up.
Just so we're clear, that capital reserve money cannot be used within the budget. It can only be used for that type of purpose.
That's fine. We may have another emergency that may come up, and like Orchard came up or the gym floor came up. So we may have another emergency. If we don't have money, we don't need to spend that right now. And I'm not saying not to do it. We can just defer it for another year, another 6 months. Let the things stabilize. All residents are making those tough decisions to delay or defer their renovation projects.
Thank you for your hard work on the budget. I know it's very difficult from both of you and Dr. Fishbein. You guys are doing a great job. I believe now we have the comments from the public. I know we're gonna, after this discussion items, I think we're gonna talk about the comments from the public, but now it's the time for it, correct?
Mm-hmm. I don't know
If we have anybody, or
I don't know yet. Jason,
No one is there.
okay.
no one? Okay.
Do you want to
You
give
want to
it?
wait a minute? Do you want to?
Yeah, we should wait a minute just because
Okay. Let's wait a
A
minute.
lot
some
of-
people watching.
A lot of digits to enter.
Right.
The meeting ID and the passcode.
It's hard to, yeah, because they don't know. Otherwise, be on hold for a while.
Oh, excuse me.
Bless you.
Thank you.
While we wait, Ms. Kwok, I want to apologize for that you reference. I did not mean that. I meant we as a board are making a lot of changes. So I just want to take that back. So my apologies.
No offense taken. We're together. You know, we all, as President Lembo, I love saying that, as he referenced, we're 5 different viewpoints,
We're a
and
team.
we're just working together to serve the district. So
Yes. Absolutely.
Are there
I had
any,
that printed out.
are there any calls?
No,
Jason?
not at this time. No
All
call.
right.
okay.
Okay, we can, maybe if somebody's watching, they want to call in, we can always check. We can always come back to it, but we can move on.
Yes.
So now the discussion items. There was 2 bylaws that came up.
Yes. So one of the bylaws, 0164 conduct of board meetings. This was to move the 0164.
Yes,
We
this
do
is
have a
deals
call
with-
at this time.
I'm sorry?
We do have a call in.
Yes, we do have
All
a
right.
call.
Okay.
Ms. Kwok, we'll just pause that. We'll go to the call. We'll come back.
And then we'll come back.
Yep. Hello.
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 Just state your name and address, please.
Oh, hi. My name is Marisol Romero, and I live at 258 Stylen Avenue, Ridgewood, New Jersey.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
So I don't know. I mean, I guess because I'm watching you guys on Zoom on my TV, but it might be delayed. So I apologize if some of this stuff, what I'm saying, is a bit delayed. But so thank you for listening to me. I've been watching, I think, pretty much since the beginning, and I guess I have some concerns. Just with, I want to thank everyone for their service. And I know it's not easy to be up here on the Board of Ed and to go over all these things. It's very tedious and it's very late. And I respect some of the new board members wanting to be fiscally responsible with requesting RFPs and things like that. And I get it. We have new board members. They're obviously they were voted in by the majority, and for a reason, because maybe people were upset. But my concern is, there's that saying, don't bite your nose to spite your face. And there's just some things that I have a concern about. For example, when you guys were talking about the whole issue back and forth with Merlino as an attorney for 6 months, I don't understand why it just wasn't voted in to just use him for the year, and during that time, just look for someone else, request through an RFP. I don't understand why the time was just going back and forth about using him for 6 months or 12 months. It's like, just use him for the year until you can find an attorney that might be equal or better than what he's providing. The other thing is the basketball courts. I didn't realize that there was a hazardous material that was being presented. And again, I know the whole issue with, how much of a hazardous material, does it meet the criteria, does it not meet the criteria, et cetera, and that people want a presentation on it. But I feel like things like that, just like when I heard about what was happening at Orchard, my concern is always the health of the children, of the students. And I wouldn't want that to drag on because people want to have presentations, et cetera, back and forth. And then my last question is after, not question, but comment is after listening to Sheila Brogan talk about, all the cuts that are coming, which, I think no one's surprised about, right, with everything that's going on. My big question is the cuts are coming, whether it's from the federal, the state, district, county, whatever it is. What would be, I guess this is the question, what would be the top things that the Board of Ed would be looking at to cut first? Because those tough decisions are going to have to be made. And I know that everyone always has the student's best interest in mind, but what is it going to be? Is it going to be like things to do with the academics, the curriculum, et cetera? So that was it. And again, I thank everyone for their service. I thank the new board members. I know it's not easy. I know everyone wants to be fiscally responsible, but I don't think we need to go for tit for tat in every single meeting going forward about everything. If we have confidence in the administration, then we need to let them make those decisions. I don't think there's anything wrong with asking for clarification, but I don't think it needs to turn into a 4-hour meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I clarify on?
We have a few more.
Oh, we do, okay.
Ms. Kelly, I don't know if you stated before, but just we're holding these 3 minutes. Is that?
Yes, 3 minutes.
Okay.
Yep. I'm timing it, so I have it here.
Awesome.
Is the next caller there?
Okay, caller, you're live.
Hello.
Yes, hi. Just state your name and your address, please.
Good evening. This is Lori Weber at 235 South Irving Street. And I was listening to the person who posed a few comments just before me. And the question came up about why to question the contract with Mr. Merlino representing the school district. And I have an answer I'd like to propose for that as a resident. I watched the May 7th meeting, And I feel that Mr. Merlino sat back and allowed ethics violations to take place. He was in a position to stop what was happening. He was in a position to correct wrong information that was being propagated on the public forum, and he chose not to. And I have a big problem with that. I have to question Mr. Merlino's judgment and whether he is actually doing a forthright job for the school district. I'm certainly glad to see that other attorneys will be considered, and I think Mr. Merlino might have some explaining to do to the board. So I just wanted to comment on that one area. I found the meeting in general was very interesting tonight, a little different than usual. And I like to see the dialogue. I think that we have new board members with fresh ideas that are settling into these positions. And I think that I don't expect every meeting will be like this, but I expect that a few of them will. And that's what happens when new ideas come to the forum, where certain standards have remained in place for a very, very, very long time. And I find the conversation and the exchange of ideas refreshing as a longtime resident. Thank you.
Thank you.
That is it for now.
That's it? Okay.
Okay.
So we were going back to discussion items. Ms. Kwok, you're talking about the bylaw 164.
Mike, or Mr. President, I just want to respond or provide my view on the previous caller where about this long discussion or tit for tat or discussion that may have been unnecessary. I think from my perspective, if I feel that I'm elected, I'm representing residents here, and if I feel that some information should be presented to the residents when we are making decisions for $500,000, $300,000 capital projects, and all I'm asking for is a public presentation before the decisions are made. And if those we are trying to find, if I perceive something as trying to find a workaround for public presentation and getting those things done, I will speak up. That's why I am elected.
Absolutely. And I know the both callers, I think, said this is an unusual meeting, and there's three of us, we're learning, and we're just trying to make sure everyone gets their voice heard. That's why I kind of moved you to different spots. Just
sure.
We're all trying to get our voices out.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that I'm not trying to hinder any of those projects. All I want is, if we are spending that type of money, we need to tell the people, and we need to do proper bidding processes for those.
All right.
We always do a proper bidding process.
Or I should say, we need to do more than state minimum. We don't, Dr. Fishbein, when we say talk about our high school students, we don't say they are passing with the minimum required credits. They always try to achieve more. We don't go sports or any other thing where we say we are doing minimum required. So
I didn't say we did the minimum. I said we did it properly.
We do minimum required per state law.
Okay. Well, when we get to those bids, we'll look at those.
Okay.
So let's moving on. Discussion item. We were talking about the bylaw 164. I believe it was going to be brought up the order of business. Ms. Kwok, were you talking about that?
Yes, right now, the conduct of board meetings, I wanted to have a discussion and maybe a motion for adoption to be considered. And that would be that public comment periods should be moved to the start of each meeting. If there is a second public comment period, the second period will be held at the end of the meeting, and no board business shall be conducted after the last public comment. The benefits of this are manifold. One would be to standardize when the public, they would always anticipate and they would know when we would be able to hear from the residents. I think that's why I'm proposing it. It's all about making sure we hear everybody and making sure that those voices are captured in their consistent timelines.
I think, and I see what other members feel. I agree with you. I think we should kind of change it around. Two comments for me though is first, I think the first public comment should have some sort of a time limit. Like I know the council's like a 40-minute. I know there's some meetings that we may have that there may be a large outpouring of support just to kind of let us get some business done. But I also think that we need, if this is a bylaw change, I mean, we can do it through the committee. I don't think this is going to be something we can change tonight. I know the previous board, and we've always talked about this, but I think that our committee should look at this. And I think the next bylaw too, if we want to change it, we should propose it as a bylaw.
So, but can we discuss the
I would like
change
to
that-
just, sorry, go ahead, Rob.
all I was saying that can we at least get inputs from all board members, so whoever is making
Absolutely.
final changes that.
Yeah,
Well, I was
absolutely.
going to just suggest that, you know, the only amendment would be if students were doing a presentation, you know, that's a school night. I think
Absolutely.
we should not have to wait for a 40-minute public comment, which I think the previous board talked about, and I think we've sort of done a better job, you know, of trying to get public comment in and without having them wait 2 hours before they could speak. And I also think, you know, to your effect, you know, to what you were saying, Mike, was limit public comment, but also put a limit on presentations. So
Absolutely.
you have student presentations, you know, it's no more than 30 minutes before public comment.
I also might think that some of our outside consultants, if they should come, it's not very frequently that they do, that we might also want to have them come if we're being charged for, you know, an hourly fee. So that and students I'd pull out. I have some concerns about the 40-minute criteria. I think it's really nice on paper. However, when there is if there is a particular issue and you may go through negotiations, and at that point, if negotiations, some of our staff sometimes feel they would want to comment, and they would be there, that 40 minutes might pose a problem. We often don't have comments that would go as long as that in any one night, unless there is some area of controversy or real concern from our public. And I would hesitate to then say, you know, no more than 40 minutes. You have to be very even. So I don't think I'd be in favor of limiting the time. I am in favor of limiting it to, actually, I thought it was 4 minutes, not 3 minutes. I thought we had moved it up to 4 minutes.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
That's all right. But it's 4 minutes. We try to be, we try to set that it would be 4 minutes for everyone, not 5 minutes because they're being nice to us.
Right. Right. And that's
or 3.5 minutes because they're yelling at us. You know, so it's sort of an equal distribution of our comments, but it's 4 minutes. And as I said, our comments usually don't last that long to have that 40-minute block. So.
I just want to add that for professional services presentations, we can always give them a late start time. We can call them at 7:30 instead of 7 o'clock if we are paying them by hour, and give the public first chance, because I think it's more important for residents who come here to the board to speak. They have some predictability that when will they be able to speak. And what I have seen at a lot of meetings, I'm not saying specifically our meeting, is when we have any exceptions that can go before public meeting, those presentations are used almost as, like they generally show up on the days when controversial topics are going to be discussed and public is expected. I'm not saying about our meeting, But usually at board meetings or council meetings, when they have that exception, any type of exception, that something can happen before public meeting or public comments, those things do happen on those days. So, and then public has to wait for an hour or 2 hours, and then they just go home, and that discourages them. And we should show that we are not here to discourage residents. And if our students are there, even the students can see what other residents are saying, how public comments are going, and we can limit that to 40 minutes as Mike is suggesting. That happens at council meetings all the time. So they limit that for 40 minutes, and the students learn the government process in that part.
Yeah, and I just,
I
you know,
think
I think we should need, we need to look at, we just need to look at, I think, all of our input, but I think if we had a committee together to make that bylaw, I see what Ms. Brogan's saying with limiting. We don't want to limit. I also would like to, you know, see through, you know, Mr. Emmer or Ms. Kelly with even the online stuff. If somebody wants to make a comment, they can't come down. Obviously, I don't know if, you know, I know when we had graduation and obviously we have a lot of outpouring, you know, we could put those in the minutes, but not always have to read everything explicitly out there, just so people have a voice. And I think that what we all agree is that we want to let the public have that voice. We just got to figure out how we can make it before and after. And I also thought of, I know in our agenda, there's our conduct, the last, we can go back into executive session and come back out before adjournment. I would also like the possibility, if that ever happened, if there maybe would be a third comment, but we wouldn't know when we're coming out. So people would just be waiting around. I would have to look at that. So we have to figure out how we can do it fairly for everybody.
Yeah, I think that the residents should always come first. I think they should come first before the professional services. I mean, the services they're serving the district. So I feel like in those scenarios, when there is a professional service or public presentation that's not students, that they should wait for the residents to speak first. But and maybe for the executive, when we go into executive sessions, maybe that could always come first, like we did today, not have it at the end, so that the public knows they speak in the front, they speak at the end.
Oh, no, this is the second executive. If we ever have to go back in, that's,
Yeah.
we should have that just in case.
I think Hanju has a good point that currently the way these bylaws are written, we don't have a executive session before in this beginning. So we may have to add that. If that's the practice, if that's what we are doing, then the bylaw should reflect that the board can go in executive session before the meeting starts.
Yeah.
Okay, I just think and we'll, I just think that we have it out there that we want to look at our public comments.
Another thing, when whoever is on the policy committee, another thing I would propose is the agenda should be available to residents 5 days before instead of 2 days before the meeting. Council does that. Most other boards do that. I don't think 2 days is enough time, or right now it's Monday. So the way it reads is board members will get 2 days before the meeting and residents get it on the same day. I think residents deserve to know what is coming up for a meeting at least 4 or 5 days before the meeting.
Yeah, it's on our website that Friday.
Right, so that's 2 days before.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it should be 5 days instead of 2 days.
Okay, and then the next bylaw is 169.02, which is the board member use of social networks. And I believe that one, I think, needs a little bit clarification especially for the new members. I know going with public speaking, I think it's, you know, by reading, I think Dr. Fishbein probably can explain it best, but I think the public needs to understand that we're not responding to them because we don't want to. You know, I think we have a right to talk, but it's not to talk as, you know, Dr. Fishbein or myself will be talking for the board. You know, so we're not ignoring emails or public.
So you would like to delete number 6, which says not respond to any postings regarding Board of Education or school district business, or respond to any questions or inquiry posted to the board member or posted on any social network regarding Board of Education or school district business, and shall refer any such questions or inquiries to the superintendent of schools to address as appropriate. So that's the one that you're proposing to remove. Number 6.
Yes.
So I'm just pulling it back up.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is also a new member issue where we reading that and we feel that now we're on the board, we can't talk to anybody. And I don't think that's necessarily the case. But like Mr. Donnie just read, it's basically anything. So we just want to make sure that that was clarified.
And that's not what was happening anyway. We have seen board members responding on social media. So if this clause does not exist.
So we'll again, the policy group will look at that as well.
But do we have any comments from other board members?
So just so I'm clear on this, are you talking about us just responding personally about non-board issues, or if questions are presented to us about board issues?
Currently, the way it's written, it says that you cannot respond to anything related to board matters. So if somebody says, like, if somebody posts a question that was there a change in school calendar, and it was already discussed at the last meeting, currently the way it's written, I cannot go and say, hey, yes, it was discussed at the last meeting, go look at these minutes. And I think I should be able to do that.
I don't think it was meant that literal.
Right, but that's how it's written.
Agreed.
Yeah, right now it's just the onus is on one person to respond on behalf of the board. I understand not delivering a policy issue or something when that has to be voted on collectively, but when it's simply a matter of business or public information, that's, the board minutes are on our website, but sometimes it's just a matter of delivering the information.
And the intent of that is covered by 1 to 7, except this one. So that what can a board member do, that the intent is covered by other points. So this one is redundant or over restrictive.
I think it needs to be just looked at and just reworded.
Yes.
So.
Correct. Okay.
The amend the board calendar.
That was a request about moving the August date to the last Monday in August.
That was Ms. Brogan's request, and I'm okay with it if the rest of the.
Yeah, I think people had to go and look at their calendars.
Yeah.
Right.
So what exact date are we talking about?
It's from the second to last. 23rd to 30th.
24th maybe to the 31st. No.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. August 24th to August 31st.
I have no conflict as of now.
Thank you.
I'm good.
I'm good.
Yep, we're good.
All right, so we'll bring that revised calendar for the next meeting then, okay?
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
And the last one was the lease purchase.
Right. The last is simply, we are so behind in our budget process that we would like to put the lease purchase on the agenda on Thursday when we approve the budget, because we can't do the lease purchase without an approved budget. So it would be the second agenda item. So it would be after we have an approved budget. If we don't approve it now and wait till the end of the month, there's a chance that we will not have the equipment for the start of school. So it's very critical that we get this done and out.
Right, and it's just to be clear, it's the authorization to go out to bid for the financing piece of it and to start purchasing the equipment. So like Dr. Fishbein said, if we don't start moving on this, we're not going to get what we need for September.
So this is a request to put it on the agenda for Thursday.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
but we wanted to tell you why you discuss it, because that's why
Got
we
it.
put it on there. And just so I confirmed with the county BA that it's okay to approve the budget and approve the authorization at the same time.
Okay.
And I just have 2 comments on that, Ms. Kelly. One is I have not seen this year's the bid that will go out, but I found it 2 years ago for the same work. And the way it read was that the bids were invited and bidders were asked to call Phoenix Advisors phone number to get the bid documentation or details or specs. So,
Yes.
and then they had to request those specs at least 7 days before the bid closing. So it gives them very short windows. So we are giving them overall whatever is the state mandated days, but if they need proper any questions or answers, they need to ask those 7 days before. So we are effectively indirectly closing that bid 7 days before for anybody who finds that out new, right? So if somebody is on vacation for 3 or 4 days, they lose that window. So what in the electronic age, why can we not put the specs online? Why do we have to, why does somebody has to call their office and then wait for them to provide them specs?
Well, usually they contact them, we email them, they email the specs to them.
But why can it not be part of when we go out for bid in the bid, instead of giving their phone number or email address? In the one that I found, it was phone number, not even email address. So phone number, they can say, okay, somebody called and nobody picked up, but we can provide a link for the bid specs. If they are too long, that it can be a PDF and that link can be provided. Like what I'm just trying to ask, why can we not make, or can we make it more easier for the bidders to bid and find the specs? And why do we have to close it?
Having them request it, just put it on the website, you mean, at the same time?
Have the link in the announcement.
Have the link in the announcement for any specs. And why do they need 7 days before the end date? That limits the time.
I'm not sure, I have to read, so what was the 7 days, the questions or the?
Yeah, the 7-day one is that if bidders have any questions or clarification, they have to submit 7 days before the bid submit date.
Yeah, I think that's because when you submit questions, then they have to, then they have to, if there's any, they have to answer that question to all the people that requested a bid. So you have to do an amendment, amendment to the spec and send their answers out. So just give them time to answer everybody. So it gives time, everyone gives people enough time to then respond to the bid if there's
maybe we extend the overall bid window so that way more people have time.
In the future, we can. This time, it's going to be tight because
but we can still put the specs on day one. We can put the specs out on day one with the bid notice. There's absolutely no reason.
I think Dr. Fishbine's talking about the question period, but yeah, because I just want to make sure that we don't lose out.
Yeah, question period, if 7 days, we can fix that for the future. But if we want more bids, then on day one, when we are putting the notice out, and with that, we should put out all the specs. There's no reason to hold back the specs. So that was my one feedback. And my second feedback is, do we have a list of equipments that is already finalized, or is that just a funding and the list of equipments will come after the funding?
No, I think I forwarded you that list when you questioned me today.
No, you forwarded me the it's network /
oh yeah, that's
95. So it looks like a budget item. It doesn't look like a list of equipment.
Well, it's not, I don't have a whole list of exactly what we're purchasing, but in order to get the financing, you have to submit as part of the bid specs, like kind of overall budget for what you want to purchase, what type of equipment you want to purchase.
So you want like the model number of the?
No, I don't want it. I'm just asking that as part for getting this money for getting 940 whatever the number is. Do we need to provide that?
No, it doesn't have to be that specific, but what Dr. Fishbein gave you was like a summary of the budget, and that's all that they request. That's all that they require.
So we'll just get the funding, and then we can, throughout the year, we can purchase from that line item.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ms. Kelly, do we need a motion to put that on Thursday, we're good?
It'll just it will be an agenda item. We just wanted to let you know what was going on and wanted to give you the.
Yeah, no, we want to make sure we're, God willing, that they were back at school, that everything's ready to go.
No, it'll be an agenda item for Thursday.
Okay. So next is the acceptance of the minutes from the executive session meeting of April 23rd, 2020.
I move acceptance of those minutes. I think only Chris and I can move it and vote on it, right?
You can, well, you can all vote on it, but if the new
Oh.
members don't have to, but if it's only two of you, then it's still fine because you're the only two that were there, so. But they can if they want to, they don't have to.
Oh,
All
I mean,
right.
this is just, yeah.
Oh,
This is just accepting the minutes
Yeah.
as prepared, correct? I mean, we don't,
Yeah,
it's, yes,
obviously we can't.
it was just to approve the minutes from that executive session.
so generally you get them ahead of time, and if there is a mistake, and
Right.
it does happen rarely, you would let us know and we would fix them ahead of the board meeting.
Mhm. All right, so, all right, so Miss Brogan,
yes.
Mr. Donnie,
Same.
Mr. Kaufman,
Yes.
Ms. Quack,
Yes.
and Mr. Limbo.
Yeah,
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
Is there, next is other business? I think we kind of covered.
Yeah.
Is there?
Yeah.
All right. No motion to go into executive session? No. So I hereby move that this meeting of the Ridgewood Board of Education be adjourned. Do we get a second?
Second.
Second,
Do we just do it all in favor? Do we do a roll call vote? Ms.
You
Kelly?
can do it all in favor.
All in favor?
aye.
All right.
All right.
Good
Good night,
night.
everyone.
Good night.